today hosting the third G20 Sharepass meeting in Sun City in the Northwest Province. It is expected to bring to the fore a number of challenges that are facing the globe. This comes as the world has been on tenterhooks following a ceasefire in the war between Iran and Israel. International Relations and Cooperations Ambassador Olisa Mabungu says the U.S. will not be part of the meeting.
For this week, the United States has confirmed to us that they will not be present in the meeting, but they have not foreclosed the possibility of continuing beyond this meeting this week. So we are open-minded about it. We are looking forward to further interactions with them. So we do interact with the United States indeed, because they do have a Sherpa for the G20. They have a sous Sherpa for the G20. So in a way, they are aware of what is happening under our presidency.
Lastly, President Donald Trump has insisted the U.S. strikes on Iran's nuclear facilities were devastating. This after a leaked U.S. intelligence report suggesting the country's nuclear program was only set back by a few months. Speaking at a NATO meeting, Trump says Iran will not be building bombs for a long time. He added that Tehran wouldn't have agreed to a ceasefire if the strikes were not a success.
That hit ended the war. I don't want to use an example of Hiroshima. I don't want to use an example of Nagasaki. But that was essentially the same thing. That ended that war. This ended that with the war. If we didn't take that out, they'd be fighting right now.
For any news stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us at +27 11 714 4459. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Coming to you.
Well, it's 7 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African Time. Good afternoon and welcome to The Upside on Channel Africa, the African Perspective. We're coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa for the Radio Broadcasters Convention Africa 2025. It's going to be a special broadcast this afternoon. We'll be talking about how AI is being used to transform media spaces, and we'll explore the legalities of it as well. And then we get into conversation with global brand building with LV's Drift, shall we say, partnership and collaboration with Inanda Hotel. We'll be joined by their ambassador, Junelle. And then later on, we wind down with comedic kings in South Africa, Jason Goliath, about the upcoming The Happiness Economy Tour, which will be returning, sharing some new truths about life, where to find happiness in the small moments, in tragedy sometimes. And they'll be telling us about the tour and what we can expect this year. I tell you what an exciting opportunity it is for us to be here at the Wanderers Club. Not too far away is the Bull Ring, the cricket stadium, where that famous 4-3-8 cricket game between Australia and South Africa was held. South Africa obviously winning that game. So it's going to be an exciting show this afternoon. This is The Upside with me, Tebogo Lekhuleni, with you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African Time. Stream us live on our social media platforms at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube, and at Facebook and YouTube, and at Channel Africa 1 on X and Instagram. Let us know what your day day is looking like so far? I know it's payday. Did you pay yourself first or did you pay the bills? Let me know. +27 63 406 9126. And on this day in African history, did you know that it was in 1975, June 25th, when Mozambique gained independence? After centuries under Portuguese rule, Mozambique officially declared independence on this day in 1975, with Samora Machel becoming its first president. Welcome to The Upside.
Channel Africa.
E quer trabalhar na África do Sul? Você tem documentos que o qualificam para trabalhar na África do Sul? Nesse caso, podemos ter uma oportunidade para você trabalhar no Canal África. Envie seu currículo e demonstração para Canal África at newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Lembre-se, se você não receber alguma resposta nossa em 14 dias, isso significa que você não foi selecionado. Canal África, a perspectiva africana.
Hi there. Do you want to elevate your business and give it a voice in South Africa and Africa as a whole? Well, in that case, let Channel Africa make this a possibility. Channel Africa is willing to advertise your business for as little as 30,000 rands or $1,719.18. To get access to these great rates, send all requests to mukwenata@SABC. That's MOKOENATA@SABC. Channel Africa, the African perspective. We take no sides, none whatsoever. We are the Upside. With Sipiso Makwetla, and we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6. We put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Mariamo Kumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones, on air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till
1 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome to the special broadcast. It is 15 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome to the special broadcast on the Upside on Channel Africa, the African Perspective. We are coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa for the Radio Broadcasters Convention Africa 2025. This being the 6th edition of the conference of the convention. Here's why this convention matters. We'll be talking about important matters, how AI and the digital space is transforming how we do radio, and how we're having to adapt to the new way of listening, how consumers are requiring on-demand content. How do we then tailor that content using AI and the digital platforms? And this convention will be offering a strategic roadmap for digital and AI integration in African radio, elevating diverse regional voices to ensure inclusive industry evolution, setting the stage for innovation in content delivery, monetization, regulation, and audience engagement. So that's why we are out and about playing with other kids this afternoon as the Upside. But first up, let's get into a conversation, a rather important conversation. When you think about wine, you think a good time. Let's wind down. But LV Drift is a name known for more than just fine wines. Nestled in the Breede River Valley, the estate has taken its role in community development seriously, growing its partnership with the Indaba Institute, an organization dedicated to early childhood education and teacher training in South Africa. This isn't a side project or a campaign. It's a core part of how the winery sees its place in the world. With every bottle of the Albertus Viljoen Icon range sold, a portion of the proceeds supports real educational outcomes through the Institute. But that's only one part of a broader approach. The estate provides housing, education and development opportunities for over 500 workers and their families. To further unpack, we talk to Janelle Vermeil, representative of LV's Drift and Cape Wine Master. Janelle, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the Upside. Into some people may consider it a very exclusive industry. How did you find yourself in the wine industry?
Well, post my university qualifications, I got involved into working for the KWV.
Hi, Janelle, I'm just going to have to cut you there. So sorry for that. We seem to be experiencing a bit of a relapse, whatever they call it in technical terms. We'll try and fix it and then we'll continue our conversation right after this.
Midday vibes, great programming, and good company. This is Channel Africa.
Africa, voici Abedi.
Oui, c'est moi.
Abedi est un passionné de musique dans l'âme. Il a un goût pour toutes sortes de musique et passe ses journées à écouter Channel Africa.
J'aime beaucoup la musique africaine.
Ok. Devinez quoi? Channel Africa veut aider Abedi et les mélomanes du monde entier à découvrir encore plus de musique incroyable. C'est pourquoi Channel Africa appelle les artistes africains à soumettre leur musique. Chers artistes, n'oubliez pas de nous fournir toutes vos informations pertinentes à l'email adresse musique@channelafrica.co.za. Les soumissions sont votre chance d'être entendues, mais elles ne garantissent pas une playlist. Toutes les soumissions seront soigneusement examinées pour voir si elles répondent aux exigences de notre station. Channel Africa, la perspective africaine.
Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa One. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa One. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Out and about with Puleng Mulibatsi.
Met Patricia DeLille with us talking about just the growth and the development that South Africa is experiencing in terms of the tourism sector, which is also one of the driving contributors to the growth of the South African economy. What would you say are factors that are driving the positive trajectory in South Africa's tourism sector, Minister?
The whole value chain. And, I always get feedback to say that, South Africans are so friendly, the Ubuntu spirit. So our people are our biggest asset. And what we've also seen is that South Africa's value for money, and that we are eternally grateful for our African brothers and sisters. Because in 2023, we received 8.5 million visitors, and 6.5 came from the continent.
Minister of Tourism, Patricia DeLille.
Out and About comes to you every Saturday, 9 till 12 noon, Central African Time.
Kodi mumadziwa bwino kuwerenga ndi kuyankhula chinyanja? Mumakonda ntchito ya wireless? Mumafuna mutagwira ntchito m'dziko la South Africa? Nanga muli ndi mapepala okulolezani kugwira ntchito mu South Africa? Ngati muli ndi yankho la zonsezi, ndiye kuti muli ndi mwayi ogwira ntchito kuno ku Channel Africa. Tumizani CV yanu ndi mawu anu kuno ku Channel Africa ku email ya newsroom@channelafrica.co.za. Chonde ngati simunalandire uthenga kuchokera ku Channel Africa nyengo ya masiku 14 pambuyo potumiza CV yanu, ndiye kuti simunasankhidwe. Channel Africa, kalilole wa Africa.
Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside with Nompumelelo Ngubeni and Tebogo Lekhuleni. Bringing you Africa's brightest ideas and untold stories. The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
Well, it is 23 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. We do apologize for the technical glitch that we were experiencing there in trying to connect with Janelle Female to tell us about the LV's Drift collaboration and partnership with Indaba Institute. So this collaboration and partnership is meant to do good for the world and for the communities in South Africa. For every bottle of their Albertus Viljoen Icon range, it pours back into South Africa's future and supporting hundreds of families developing child or early childhood development, supporting teachers, and investing in the entire community. We'll work on getting Janelle back on the line. In the meantime, I have a quick quiz for you listening in at home. We're coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa this afternoon. A special broadcast to bring you the Radio Broadcasters Convention Africa 2025. How AI and the digital space and platforms are transforming how we do radio. And what are the opportunities, what are the risks that we need to look out for going forward. And bringing you back to my quiz. Let's see if someone can get this, because I threw it on social media, I threw it on Instagram, I threw it on my TikTok account. No one seems to know the answer for this quiz. It's called, Which African Flag Am I? Here are your clues. My flag features a green vertical stripe on the left with horizontal yellow and red stripes on the right. My colors symbolize hope, wealth, and courage. I am home to the ancient kingdom of Dahomey and the birthplace of voodoo. If you think you know the answer, send us a WhatsApp, +27 63 406 9126, or alternatively go to our live streams and comment below at Channel Africa on Facebook and at Channel Africa on YouTube. It's 25 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African time. I hope that we'll get a correct answer this afternoon. Don't go anywhere. More upsiding coming up next.
Se é artista em exceção que a sua música a público mais vasto, ou apenas procura promover a sua música na rádio, podemos ajudá-lo a aumentar as suas hipóteses de sucesso. Envie sua música para music@channelafrica.co.za. Para tal, precisamos das seguintes informações: rótulo, código ISRC, título, artista, compositor, editor, autor, linguagem, gênero. 3. Escute sua música, trilha sonora da nossa rádio, perfeita para melhorar o seu dia. Com Channel África e a sua música, você nunca ficará entediado. Experimente o melhor da música africana na perspectiva africana.
The Upside. On the Upside, your voice matters. Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6, we put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joel Moteba. We go to Eastern Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochi Tika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia, 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana, 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money, Africa in business, 4 till 5 p.m. 5 till 6. We put on a little bit more color. Vue d'Afrique with Joël Moteba. We go to East and Central Africa and find Darubinia Africa with I Am Shakif. Madapiri gives us some life. Zochitika, 7 till 8 p.m. Maria Mokumalo comes in 8 till 9. We get some useful knowledge. Kalodiscopia. 9 till 10. We take a look in Africa and beyond. Africa World Hour with Sipiso Makwetla. And we close it up with some love. The Hotlines with Shailen Dikumana. 10 till 12 p.m. on Channel Africa. Across borders, across time zones. On air, online. This is Channel Africa. Africa has a voice, and that voice is Channel Africa. It keeps you in motion, speaking, singing, questioning, rising. Wake up with Rise and Shine, 6 till 9. Peter and Asanda, as they bring you breaking news, sharp analysis, and the voices that shape the day. At mid-morning, we get on the move with Palisa and Benjamin, digging into the African lifestyle, people, and the things that make Africa smile. 12 till 1, Africa Update with Lulu Kabu, getting in-depth, powerful stories, and the perspective you won't hear anywhere else. The Upside, 1 till 4, live and real, with Tebogo Lekhuleni and Nompumelelo Ngubeni. Tame Ngubeni talks money. Africa.
Continue the conversation right after the radio broadcasters convention Africa 2025. We'll continue the conversation right after this. For now, though, let's get the sports news with Musibudi Makura.
A very good afternoon from the sports desk. So the newly signed Borussia Dortmund midfielder Job Bellingham says the FIFA Club World Cup has played a big role in his integration into the group. Now, the younger brother of Real Madrid as well as England international Jude joined the German Giants just before the tournament started in the USA for a reported fee of just a little over $30 million from Sunderland. Now, Bellingham made his full debut in a 4-3 win over South African side Mamelodi Sundowns in the group stages of this competition and was also on the score sheet. He spoke about the benefits of travelling to a major tournament with his teammates.
They've been really good. Like the way I see it, lads have really helped me settle in, and it's been a different experience because rather than signing and having a summer off, I've got a chance here and an opportunity to meet everyone and get to grips with how we play and how the coach wants us to play as a team. So on and off the pitch, it's a really beneficial experience for me. I think to be here with the team so soon, they get to know me better and I get to know the team, as I've said. So yeah, I think it's been really positive so far.
All right. Meanwhile, later on tonight, Dortmund will take on Ulsan HD in their final group game tonight, and Bellingham wants to build from the victory over Sundowns, especially now that he's also off the mark.
Sure, it's a little bit surreal, really. When the ball hits the net, it's just crazy. Everything happens so slowly. But yeah, I'm really pleased. I think the conditions make it so difficult, especially for us being a European team, and they played a fantastic game. And I'm sure they're used to that kind of weather, but we definitely aren't. But it's something we're going to have to adapt to as the tournament goes on. That's just the demands of this competition. So yeah, it was really difficult.
All right, we'll stay with that story. It's all to play for in Group F of the FIFA Club World Cup as teams head into the final round-robin matches with 2 spots up for grabs. So with Ulsan already eliminated, there's Borussia Dortmund, Fluminense, as well as Mamelodi Sundowns who remain in contention in the race that's going down to the wire. So here are the permutations ahead of tonight's matches that kick off at 9 p.m. Central African time. So Mamelodi Sundowns will qualify as the winners of this group if they defeat Fluminense and Borussia Dortmund failed to beat Ulsan. Sundowns will also qualify as the runner-ups of this group if they defeat Fluminense and Borussia Dortmund beat Ulsan. Fluminense, meanwhile, will qualify as the winners of this group if they manage to beat South African outfit Sundowns and Borussia Dortmund failed to beat Ulsan HD, while the draw with Sundowns and Borussia Dortmund failed to beat Ulsan. So they defeat Sundowns today, Borussia Dortmund beat Ulsan, then Fluminense finish above Dortmund on goal goal difference, or if that is also equal, the overall number of goals scored will be used as to determine which team then qualifies for the last round of 16 at this year's FIFA Club World Cup. On to athletics news now. Jamaican track icon Shirley Ann Fraser-Price will compete in a final national championships when they kick off this week. The three-time Olympic gold medalist confirming that she's winding down one of athletics' most decorated careers. Now, the 10 times world gold medalist previously announced her comeback to the track for 2025 in what was widely expected to be her final year of competition, saying she has unfinished business. So the 38-year-old told reporters on Monday that the Jamaican National Championships that start from Thursday would be her last. This is a qualifying event for this year's World Championships that run from the 12th until the 21st of September in Tokyo, Japan, and also comes after a disappointing final games at the Paris Olympic Games last year when she missed her 100-meter semi-final after sustaining an injury during a warm-up session. And finally, in tennis news, breakout Roland Garros star Louise Bosson saw her hopes for a maiden Wimbledon main draw appearance ending in the first round of qualifying. The 22-year-old rose to 65 at the world following her fairy tale run to the French Open semi-finals as the 361st ranked wildcard at the French Open. However, the cut-off to enter the main draw is about 6 weeks before the tournament, when Bosson was still ranked outside of the top 400. That meant she had to go through qualifying, where on Tuesday she suffered a 6-2, 6-7, 6-4 defeat by Canada's world number 197, Carnes Beisenstein. Now, Beisenstein will face compatriot as well as longtime friend Bianca Andreescu for a place in the third and final round of qualifying for the third Grand Slam tournament of the year. And that's right from the sports desk at the SAWA. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, simply send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Mosibudi Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African perspective. Ahoy, matey!
Captain here to help, right, boys?
Set sail with us on a digital voyage like no other. Channel Africa has a treasure trove of awesomeness. That is our website and social media pages.
Tell me, why are you here?
We want you to be part of our adventure.
The winds are changing, Captain. And this time...
Imagine a world where curiosity knows no bounds, where entertainment meets enlightenment, and where every click leads to the African perspective. Visit us on our website, www.channelafrica.co.za, or follow us on Instagram or on X at Channel Africa 1. Go on, like us on Facebook at Channel Africa 1. So, spread the word. Tell a friend that Channel Africa's online variety is what they need on the web. Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Well, it's 37.
The African perspective.
Well, it's 37 minutes after 1 p.m. Central.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective.
Good afternoon. In our top business story this afternoon, Ghana's parliament has approved a $2.8 billion debt restructuring deal with 25 creditor nations, including China and France. This will aid disbursements under an International Monetary Fund bailout program, which will help alleviate the country's worst economic crisis in decades. The West African nation, the world's second largest cocoa producer, signed a memorandum of understanding with its creditors in January after defaulting on most of its external debt in December 2022. Under the restructuring terms, debt service payments due between the 20th of December 2022 and the 31st of December 2026 will be rescheduled, capitalized, and repaid from 2039 to 2043, delaying repayments by over 15 years. Ghana continues negotiations with commercial creditors to complete its debt restructuring. CEO of South Africa's National Financial Ombud, Rihanna Steyn, says the highest number of complaints received from consumers last year were about fraud identification, car insurance, and inflated charges for homes and bank accounts. The scheme released its latest figures, revealing that South Africa's biggest banks were the subject of the majority of complaints received between March and December last year. The NFO has recovered more than $18 million for consumers across all financial sectors. Steyn says they dealt with over 30,000 cases.
The bank with the highest number of complaints last year was Capitec, but we always caution to say that they also by far the bank with the most clients. So it does not mean necessarily that they fared worse, because they only opened not even 100 cases more than the next bank. The next one was FNB, second, and then you're followed by Standard Bank and Nedbank. I think it follows also the number of clients that these banks have. There really is a need for an office such as ours. Consumers do need the help, and they need the free assistance, because it do seem that financial services industry, there are issues.
As the United Nations marks 80 years of existence, UN G20 Sherpa Nelson Mafa says the G20 is making meaningful strides to ensure multilateralism remains effective and inclusive, particularly for global trade and cooperation amid rising geopolitical tensions and a surge in protectionism. He made these remarks at the third G20 Sherpas meeting currently underway in Northwest Province in South Africa.
Certainly, there is a positive momentum with regards to reinforcing multilateral cooperation at a time when it is very much needed as the UN celebrates 80 years of existence. And the G20 presidency under South Africa is contributing positively to this notion of reinforced solidarity around sustainable development and equality.
The 7th Africa Youth and Tourism Innovation Summit is underway in Johannesburg, South Africa, bringing together youth and young entrepreneurs, industry experts and government officials from across the continent. Speaking on behalf of South Africa's Tourism Minister Patricia de Lille, Dr. Sipho Ngomane from the Department of Tourism highlighted the urgent need to rethink the role of tourism in addressing youth unemployment.
Youth unemployment remains one of the greatest challenges facing the continent. And while tourism has immense potential to generate jobs, access remains uneven, particularly for our young people. That is why we must reimagine tourism, not just as a leisure industry, but as a strategic platform for innovation, skills development, digital transformation, and inclusive entrepreneurship.
The shares of one of Europe's biggest digital payments processors, Worldline, lost over a quarter of their value in early trading today after an investigation by 21 European media outlets alleged that the French company had covered up client fraud to protect revenue. The Dirty Payments investigation, which the media outlets say is based on confidential internal documents and data from Worldline, alleged that the company accepted questionable clients across Europe. Worldline shares fell as much as 25.5% in early Paris trading. The company handles $580 billion worth of transactions annually. And now for a look at our indicators this afternoon. $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 547. In Botswana, it's 13 pula 28. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 57. In Zambia, it's 23 kwacha 20. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 49. Russia, 78 rubles 44. In India, it's 86 rupees 3. China, 7 yuan 17. And South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 74 cents. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,327 and platinum at $1,298 per ounce, while Brent crude oil is currently at $67.67 a barrel. And those are your business news. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Bontle Headbush.
Business news. on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Get Channel Africa on DSTV Audio Bouquet. Channel 802. Big news from Channel Africa. Now you can listen and watch your favorite shows on Channel Africa. Channel Africa is streaming live on the internet on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1 from 6 a.m. till 9 p.m. Central African Time. Download the SABC Plus app or visit our website www.channelafrica.co.za and stream us live on all our social media pages at Channel Africa 1. Channel Africa now streaming for your eyes and ears only. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
Well,
taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
Well, it's 44 minutes after 1 p.m. Central African Time. Thank you so much for tuning into The Upside this afternoon on Channel Africa, the African Perspective. We're coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa for the Radio Broadcasters Convention Africa 2025, this being the 6th edition. And in our conversation now, we're going to be focusing on reformatting for content and audience growth in an AI-driven digital ecosystem. As radio moves deeper into digital, AI is no longer science fiction. It's shaping how we create, curate, and grow audiences. But with endless content comes fierce competition. At this year's Africa's Radio Broadcasting Convention, broadcasters are asking, how do we reformat, rethink, and re-engage? This is not about replacing radio, it's about evolving it. And we are joined live at the convention by Victoria Budanova. She's the head of Sputnik Africa, and they are based in Russia. Now, Sputnik Africa is a news media keeping you updated on all the latest news in Africa and the world. Victoria, thank you so much for your time and welcome to The Upside.
Thank you very much, Tebogo.
Talk to us about the work that you do as Sputnik Africa for those who may not be familiar with the media house.
Yes, thank you very much for this question. First question. Actually, Sputnik, it's an international news agency, one of the biggest, largest international news agencies in the world, because we broadcast in more than 30 languages.
Wow.
And, for example, Sputnik is the only and the first media, Russian media, to broadcast now in Amharic. So we've just launched our office in Ethiopia, where our Ethiopian team produces programs, radio programs in Amharic as well as in English. So Sputnik, it is about international affairs. It is about something. We are telling the untold. This is our motto, and this is a news agency, but also radio. And me here, like a representative head of Sputnik Africa, the African department of Sputnik, we are looking for partnerships with local radio stations to bring our view on the situation in the world, and also to exchange opinions about what is happening.
An unbiased view, of course,
Yeah, sure.
as always. Victoria, let's talk about the role that AI is then playing in reformatting how we create content as media houses. How is Sputnik Africa evolving and adapting because of AI being brought to the forefront?
Yes. First of all, Sputnik is a digital media. So we exist since 2014, and since this time we develop actively our platforms, and we need to be to follow this trend, AI trend that we have in front of us. This is already our present and future, and media must deal with it. That is why we deal with lots of AI tools for that help us to produce content. Not they don't help us produce content like itself, you know. Just it helps us in the process of production. For example, for radio, as we are an international news agency. We need to translate, for example, the speech of our expert or an official that we've interviewed into different languages. And AI could assist us here. So it will make our job faster, quicker, but sure, after it, we need to see if the translation was correct or not. And also, it is about transcription. It is about image generation. We have also in our team even virtual presenters, you know.
Virtual presenters?
Yes.
Do they get paid?
No, that is why it's an interesting solution for us. But no, it's first of all an interesting solution in terms of visual performance, because you see a real person, like a real person. We have in English, it is Joy. Her name is Joy.
Okay.
And she speaks about international issues and explains everything with the help of our team, you know.
Yes,
Behind there is a big team of journalists. They do research, they do reports, they get interviews, they get pictures from forums and so on. So this is a video presented by a virtual presenter, but made by a team of professional journalists.
I love the fact that human beings are still involved in this process, that it's not 100% just AI.
No, not at all.
We'll continue the conversation. We are currently in conversation with the head of Sputnik Africa, a media house, keeping you informed on news happening in the world, in Africa. Her name is Victoria Budanova. We'll continue the conversation right after this. It's 10 minutes before 2 p.m. Central African time.
Africa. It's time to plug into the heartbeat of the continent. Tune in to Channel Africa, your go-to radio station that broadcasts in 5 different languages.
L'Afrique du Sud célèbre la journée nationale du
Kabla hujaitwa kwa jina la Double K,
or more of our forests have been destroyed.
Partido Africano da Independência da Guiné.
See, Channel Africa represents every corner of this amazing land. From Lagos to Cape Town, Nairobi to Dakar, we've got you covered with the freshest news, music, and cultures. So, turn up the volume, feel the rhythm. Enjoy the conversation. Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa, meet Abedi.
Yeah, that's me.
Abedi is a music lover through and through.
I really love African music.
He's got a taste for all kinds of tunes and spends his days listening to Channel Africa. Guess what? He didn't know.
Okay.
Channel Africa wants to help Abedi and all music lovers everywhere to discover even more incredible music. That is why Channel Africa is calling on all African musicians to submit their music. Musicians, remember to give us all your relevant information. Make your submissions at music@channelafrica.co.za. Submissions are your chance to be heard on radio. But sadly, they do not guarantee that you'll be playlisted. All submissions will be carefully reviewed to see if they meet our station's requirement. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The upside. On the upside, your voice matters.
Well, it's 8.
On the upside, your voice matters.
Well, it's 8 minutes before 2 p.m. Central African time. We are still coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa for Africa Radio Broadcasters Convention 2025. And we continue the conversation with Victoria Budanova, head of Sputnik Africa, to tell us the role that AI has had on their media house in helping them churn out proper content that is efficient, but without using the soul, without losing the soul of proper journalism and human beings behind the brands. Victoria, I was actually asking you just off air, yes, AI can be used to be more efficient, but do you think when we put it in the context of radio, when we start using and depending too much on AI, will it take away the soul of radio and the human being?
I'm very optimistic about the future of radio. And as said here at the convention, radio was, is, and will be here with us for a long time.
Yeah.
Just maybe with AI, we will have some more opportunities to present our content to our audiences, because now you have an opportunity to listen to your favorite radio podcast on streaming platforms.
Yeah.
It gives you time to think it over. For example, you can interrupt it and think it over, or you can just start in the evening and finish in the morning. This is a good thing for us.
Yeah.
And for example, at Sputnik, we have real presenters. We have only one virtual presenter, if I have spoken. But we have very real presenters, real experts, real officials that we interview, and real technical teams. So everything is real, and we need help each other. Inside the team to produce our content maybe more quickly, to voice over, for example, some declarations, to make it quicker and to be faster than others. It will be like this. We will stay competitive, in the media market. That's why I don't think that. It will
drain the soul.
Out. we will not lose it.
Okay, now that's important for us to remember, that when it comes to then AI generating analytics, where we can see data, how important is that in us then predicting the listeners' demands and the growth using that AI feature to grow our channel? How important is that?
Do you mean in terms of statistics?
In terms of statistics, using that data to then make decisions based on how we grow as a channel, as a media house.
With the digitalization of media landscape, it becomes more easier to predict what audience likes or not. And we can do it via our social media accounts. We will always have a feedback, because we can put our radio podcasts, shorts, reels, small extracts from them. We will attract audiences. We will have a feedback on it, and we will understand what is more interesting for our audiences and what is not very interesting.
I love that. And then importantly, finally, before we let you go, I know you have a busy afternoon. When it comes to small businesses or small media houses, AI can be expensive. What can they do to ensure that they keep up with the pace of AI development and moving forward, that they don't get left behind?
Yes, sometimes it's rather expensive to use AI tools, but what we do in our agency, we develop our own programs, our own instruments and tools, AI tools. For example, chatbots, video bots. They help us to translate, to transcribe, to voice over. So every manipulation like this, simple tasks, but it saves a lot our time. And a small story about Africa. We have our team in Ethiopia also, and they've discovered that Ethiopian developers could create their magnificent tools in Amharic, and outside Africa, actually instruments allowing translation into local languages are not perfect, and in Ethiopia they've managed to do it quite perfectly.
Wow.
And that's why maybe in Africa you should push your developers forward.
Well, we certainly need to look out what Sputnik Africa is doing. We can go on your website, it's Sputnik Africa.
Yes, Sputnik Africa. We have Telegram channels, Sputnik Africa, Sputnik Afrique, in French. Sorry, I speak
you speak French? Au
in
revoir.
Amharic.
Au revoir means bye-bye, but okay. Victoria, thank you so much for your time this afternoon and for shining a light on the importance of adapting to AI and this digital era that we find ourselves in, so we don't get left behind. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much.
The voice there, ladies and gentlemen, of Victoria Budanova. She is the head of Sputnik Africa. They're based in Russia. The Sputnik Africa is a news media house keeping you updated on all the latest news in Africa and the world. We're still coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa for the Radio Broadcasters Convention Africa 2025. Don't go anywhere. At the top of the hour, we've got your news with Onele Ntsinzi.
You know, but if you don't know, you know.
Now you know. Now you know. If you know, you know. The big ballers in town. Now you know. Now you know. Forget what they're on them. Yes. How much is money?
It's nothing.
Ballin'.
Alapa.
Premium or nothing.
And them or nothing.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Now you know.
Forget what they're on them.
Undisputed.
Unopposed. Luxury or nothing. Money is talking. Money is talking. Blessings on blessings. Forget what they're on them. Yes. Agbabola. How much is money?
It's nothing.
Ballin'.
Alapa.
Premium or nothing.
And them or nothing.
Now you know. Now you know. Now you know.
Now you know. Better know.
Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African perspective. SABC News, the African perspective.
Looking at your top stories this hour, the High Court in South Africa has halted the burial of the former Zambian President Edgar Lungu, and the head of NATO says leaders will make historic transformational decisions at today's summit. Your latest news, greetings to our listeners. The High Court in Pretoria has halted the burial of the former Zambian President Edgar Lungu. The Zambian government had filed a lawsuit against Lungu's family, seeking to stop his burial in South Africa today. It argued that no burial should take place until disputes surrounding the former leader's final resting place are resolved. The ruling comes as people gathered at the Cathedral of Christ King in Hillbrow, South Africa, where the former Zambian President Edgar Lungu was expected to be laid to rest today. Media houses have now been barred from covering protests currently underway in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. Protests were aimed at marking the one-year anniversary of the anti-government protests that killed at least 60 people and culminated in the storming of the National Parliament. Protests erupted in parts of Kenya, with police firing tear gas at protesters. Schools and businesses have been closed, and police have warned against attempts to access the State House and Parliament. Our correspondent in Kenya, Alex Karia.
We just received a communication from Kenya's communications regulator, the Communication Authority of Kenya, which has ordered for the end of all live broadcasts of the ongoing protests in the country. And they are citing this as saying that it's a security threat and contrary to Article 33, Section 1 of the Kenyan Constitution, which allows them that chance to do that. But the president of the Kenya Editors Guild is on air protesting this move because the right to protest and to broadcast is also enshrined in the Kenyan Constitution, and as long as media houses are paying the statutory dues to the CAK, they are therefore allowed to broadcast without any interference.
At least 17 soldiers have been killed in northern Nigeria when gunmen stormed 3 army bases. This is the latest assault in a region plagued by violence. Armed gangs operating in the northwest, known locally as bandits, typically engage in kidnapping for ransom and target security forces. The Nigerian army has confirmed the attack but did not provide any details. Insecurity has stretched Nigeria's military as it confronts armed gangs alongside Islamist groups Boko Haram and an Islamic State affiliate in the northeast. South Africa's President Cyril Ramaphosa is expected to answer oral questions in the National Council of Provinces this afternoon. Some of the questions that Ramaphosa will face include the impact of inadequate spending by provinces and municipalities of the delivery of basic services and whether government intends to reduce the number of municipalities in the country. This after the damning 2024 Auditors General's local government audit report regarding the collapse and failure of municipalities to manage their financial affairs. Lastly, the head of NATO says leaders will make historic transformational decisions at today's summit in the Netherlands to make the alliance stronger and more lethal. Mark Rutte says he expects unanimous agreements on a promise to increase spending on defense and related security investments to 5% of each country's GDP.
This will also make NATO fairer to ensure anyone and everyone contributes their fair share for our security. For too long, one ally, the United States, carried too much of the burden of that commitment. And that changes today. President Trump, dear Donald, you made this change possible.
Recapping on your top stories, the High Court in Pretoria has halted the burial of the former Zambian President Edgar Lungu. The Zambian government had filed a lawsuit against Lungu's family, seeking to stop his burial in South Africa today. Channel Africa News, I'm Oneli Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
Well, it's 6 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome to the second hour of The Upside on Channel Africa, The African Perspective. We're still coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa, for the Africa Radio Broadcasters Convention 2025. This being the 6th edition of the convention, talking about how AI and the digital space and the digital platforms are transforming the way that we do radio, traditional media, and how we need to adapt and stay up to pace with these innovations that are currently unfolding on the African continent and the world. In this hour, coming up, we'll be talking about digital rights management, navigating legal complexities of digital content distribution. And then hopefully, if we're able to get her back on the line, we get into conversation with Janelle Female. She is an ambassador for the wine company by the name of LV's Drift, with their current partnership with Indaba Institute, where every single bottle of their Albertus Viljoen Icon range will be empowering communities, early childhood development, supporting teachers, and investing in those those communities. And as always, we'd love to hear from you on our WhatsApp line, +2763 406 9126. Stream us live on our social media platforms at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube. I've got a quiz for you. I asked it earlier during the show, and I'm yet to get any answers. I threw it on my social media platform, on TikTok and on Instagram. It seems like this quiz is a bit challenging. It is very challenging. So in this second hour, I'm going to give you the quiz again, and hopefully we'll get an answer. It's called Name That African Flag. Here are your clues. My flag features a green vertical stripe on the left, with horizontal yellow and red stripes on the right. My colors symbolize hope, wealth, and courage. I am home to the ancient kingdom of Dahomey and the birthplace of Voodoo or Voodoo. Which African flag am I? If you think you know the answer, send us a WhatsApp, +2763 406 9126, or send us or comment below on the live streams at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube. Again, thank you so much for tuning in to The Upside this afternoon, and happy Wednesday, happy payday. I also ask that you send me a WhatsApp and let me know what you do with your pay, your salary when you get paid. Do you pay yourself first? Do you go out? Do you pay the bills? Where do you start off? Let me know on our WhatsApp line, +2763 406 9126. It's 9 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time.
Broadcasting in 5 different languages, connecting the continent. This is Channel Africa, the African perspective. Africa at Play with Neto and ETO Chairman.
The Confederation of African Athletics, CAA President Mr. Hamad Kalkaba Malboum, talk to us about the state of athletics in Africa as it stands, and what picture are you looking at 5 years later?
Yeah, athletics in Africa is strong. We are able to organize our major events in time. Like this year, we will have the under-20 and under-18 African Championship in Nigeria. Next year, we will have the senior in Ghana. In 2027, we will go back to Algeria to organize the under-18 and under-20. And then 2028, we will have the senior championship in Gaborone in Botswana. Well, by this program, we can increase our performance. And at the same time, we are considering the fact that within the British Federation, they are identifying young talent every year within the national program, within the scholarship championship. And so the athletics in Africa is in good standard.
Live every Saturday and Sunday from 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
Hey guys, question. Have you thought about what happens between 9 o'clock until midday, Saturday and Sunday? Well, it's me. Those that know me call me the fun police, and I'm that girl, that voice on your radio. My name is Pule Mulebati. I'm all about the finer things in life. Where to go, what to wear, who to see, and ultimately what to do. We aspire to bring you the best in travel, entertainment, with a dash or maybe a dose of laughter. And then of course we switch things up a bit when we look at technology. I love what's happening with AI. Because you blink, something new pops up. So the challenge is constantly there. I'm learning every single time on the show. So catch me every single Saturday and Sunday at 9 a.m. until 12 midday Central African Time, Baba.
Your afternoons just got even better, fresh and exciting. The Upside, hooking you up with today's news from an African perspective.
When a good girl gone bad, what you gonna do? Run, go meet a dad. You don't wanna do. What this is South is all, but the ranking one.
It's an opportunity with 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle. We deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent, African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices: English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa. Partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa.
It is now 15 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. Melanin Sauti Soul featuring Pato Ranking. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon on The Upside for the special broadcast. We are coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa for the Radio Broadcasters Convention Africa 2025 edition. And we're about to get into the legal side of digital and AI, a very important conversation and one that we need to better understand. Otherwise, we'll be paying an arm and a leg to certain parties. As African broadcasters reformat their content to meet the demands of digital-first audience, we are, apologies for that, we are enjoying the reality that it's a fast-paced environment, but the legalities of it are some things that we are not really familiar with. And as a result, we end up shooting ourselves on the foot because we didn't read properly. Yes, AI is helping drive efficiency, personalization, and audience growth, but this shift also brings new challenges, particularly in how digital content is protected and managed. And as content travels further and faster across platforms, questions around ownership, usage rights, and revenue sharing become even more urgent than ever before. To further unpack, we are joined by Stanley Similo, President of South Africa Broadcasting Association. Mr. Stanley, thank you so much for your time and welcome to the Upside.
Yeah, well, it's a pleasure and also a very good day to your listeners.
It must be an exciting time for you as the President of South Africa's Broadcasting Association to be here at this convention where we are talking about AI and moving our media spaces and reformatting to adapt to the times of technology.
Yeah, look, we as SABA, if we don't move and make those adaptations, we will be left behind. And maybe just for your listeners, let me just take just one sentence or two just to indicate who we are. As SABA, which is the Southern African Broadcasters Association, we're a conglomerate of about 16 public broadcasters within SADC.
Okay.
We have met and we've agreed that as we are moving forward, as opposed to what private media would do, we need to be uniformed in what we do. So, and part of what we're doing is to share content. And currently we have two programs that are running under the banner of SABA, which is Eye on SADC. It's a television news program which is curated in Windhoek, Namibia. And then we have another one called SADC 360, and that one is running from Maseru in Lesotho. So all our respective journalists from within the region are contributing stories for both radio and TV to the two respective countries. And then that content comes back to us, and then we can air it at any time that we would want. And then linked to that, what we also do very well is we keep on doing training for our journalists. And in that journey, we have partnered with an entity called Broadcast Media Africa. They are our partner. When we have events like this, we co-host them, SABA and BMA. And for yesterday's event running in today, I must thank the SABC because they are hosting us. And we are here and it's been a good day. Now, what we've done this time around is to focus on radio, because mainstream you will always find that TV takes the spotlight. You know, it's the glamour thing. But when it gets to being able to send out messaging, there's nothing that beats radio. Radio remains top, and the beauty about the radio is that it speaks to culture, because in most instances you will find that where we are, what we do, we address people in their languages that they speak. That is why the element of radio within this ecosystem is a very, very important one. It can never die. The moment radio dies, cultures will disappear. That's quite an important aspect for us. Now, as we are moving, what should we do? We must empower people like yourselves. You need to get the best of technology that is there, so that you can also remain at the cutting edge of what is happening. And then of late, we have this animal called AI, artificial intelligence. Just this morning, by the way, we were discussing to understand what's the impact of AI when you are broadcasting in our newsrooms. Where do we use it? And it was quite a lively debate. What I can share with you now, scripting of stories, transcribing of audio formats, video, AI is already involved. It assists, it's quick. When you do your research, it happens there, you can find. But what we will always caution, we're saying, is that the human element must at all material times be present. The idea there is that if you, for instance, you know you're going to have this topic, you can go and do your research. Get it from AI to give you, but curate it. Go through to seek and understand, is it speaking this truth that you know? Because otherwise you may easily just go and have a false sense of what it says, because it will give you everything.
100%.
A lot of it could be garbage as well. So the curation from a fact-checking perspective will still intrinsically remain with the individual.
I love that you brought up the human element when it comes to this, because sometimes we can rely very heavily on the AI and not do the fact checks. And by the time you have broadcasted and said what you've said, you can't take it back. And people are going to comment and come after you. We're currently in conversation with the president of South Africa Broadcasting Association, Stanley Similo, and he's going to tell us more about the legalities, the legal side of using AI and being in this digital age that we find ourselves in, especially in the radio broadcasting space. We continue the conversation right after this.
My whole world changing.
And contribute to the conversation. Africa in Song with Tebogo Lekhuleni.
This song has a line that I love so much in the isiXhosa language. It says, "Andinayo nesente mdaka." So I went down to the Eastern Cape. So I went to Yanga and said, "Yanga, tell me here, what does andinayo nesente mdaka mean?"
If I say andinayo nesente mdaka, it means that I do not have any money on me. I do not have money to give to you.
Interesting, because in Chivenda I would just say, "Tinana peni ndo cherungwe." I wonder if you have that expression in your home language when you want to say you're broke, but in a very creative way. What do you say? I'd like to hear from you.
Africa in Song with Tebogo Lekhuleni. Whatever you want to hear about today's talk, you can only get it on the Upside. Every weekday, 2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
Well, it is
2 to 5 p.m. Central African Time.
Well, it is 23 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. Thank you so much for joining us on this special broadcast. We're coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa for Africa Radio Broadcasters Convention 2025. And we're still in conversation with the president of South Africa Broadcasting Association, or SABA, about exploring how broadcasters can use AI to unlock growth while navigating the complexities of digital rights management. Mr. Stanley, let's explore then those digital rights management which we can often overlook when we are implementing such tools in our respective media houses. How important is it for us to review these legalities so that we don't shoot ourselves in the foot and fall on the wrong end of the law?
Look, that's a very good point, actually, because the issue of creation, be it written, be it performed, or otherwise, intrinsically, that right from an IP perspective will always remain with the one who has created. Now, when we take radio, a great deal of what we do, particularly from the music element of it, we will use music that belongs to artists.
Yes.
Who could have either single-handedly written or composed or as a group put together. Now, we, as the broadcasters, radio in particular, we need to make sure that that type of airplay that is given is sort of like recorded, so that true bodies in South Africa are called, I think, is it SAMRO?
SAMRO and SAPRO.
Yes, yeah.
Yes.
They need to know, because those that have created this, that is their livelihood. That's what makes them to have a living.
Yeah.
Equally, in Namibia, where I'm coming from, we have a body called NESCAM doing exactly the same like the two bodies that you were there.
Yeah.
So we need, from a legal perspective, we need to respect that. And it's not a choice thing. It's a legal thing that is there, because should you violate that, you could be held criminally liable or be charged a penalty. But in the main, I always maintain and maintain the position that if broadcasters don't do that, we are depriving someone of a potential earning. So our sincerity must be, let's recognize the rights of those that are into creation, so that they can also make a living for that. So that aside, we do have causes that we bring in where we alert our people through interventions. About a month back, middle of May, we were here in Joburg with a training activity for journalists within SABA on AI. And we had 3 trainers. One was from Seychelles, and the other one was from the SABC here, and the other gentleman was from Namibia. So we spent a bit of time in making sure that they need to understand what AI means in their newsrooms as they are doing stories light-hearted programs.
Yes.
Because AI comes in there as well. And as I said much earlier on, we must not be scared of AI.
Yeah.
But we should also not allow it to take over our lives, because it's part of who we are.
Yeah.
The only thing that we need to understand would be, are we trampling, or will we be trampling on the rights of the public?
Yeah.
And if we do use AI, when do we inform the public that this is an AI generated? Look, the issue of disclaimer and disclosure at a point.
Because I know social media sometimes does that. When you've generated or used an element of AI, it says you must add there that you've used AI.
Yeah. And if I just slightly digress, just to the visual side of which radio of late is also going there.
Yes.
Because remember, before radio personalities, you would only hear the voices.
Absolutely.
But
Never see the face.
Yes, but with video streaming now, we now can see, this is my favorite presenter. So now all of a sudden, I can put a face to a voice and I can identify. Now, what we are also experimenting, particularly from a Namibian perspective now, is to say, if Stanley has been recorded for a story that he spoke either in English, can we use AI and translate him to speak, for instance, isiZulu or Oshiwambo in the case of Namibia, or in Setswana in the case of Botswana? Now, once you do that, at which point do you inform Stanley or inform your public that, look, I have used AI here? And we believe that it is important that such disclosures are made. In the case of Namibia, we are now busy with a framework around an AI policy framework, which will then govern that aspect. And our idea is to move with it up to the point where we will have to have advocacy types of interventions. And we are hoping that the colleagues within the broader family of SABA will do that the same. Because yes, AI is here and we cannot deny it. And the other thing that people were, this morning, what made me laugh actually was that of late you have music that's generated via AI. And then one of the participants was saying, but we invited this person to come and perform at the show and he could not sing. I said, no, but maybe give him auto-tune, I don't know.
It's taking over.
Yeah, this is the good and the bad of whatever we would want to.
There are limits to it.
But then we got a different view. One person was saying, but what if people like AI-generated music to the extent that they buy?
That's a real one. That is a
real
real
that
thing.
Was now for us like, because that's the public now deciding. But all in all, we believe that we need to have the awareness around how these things work. We need to talk. I'm just coming now out of a session where we're also looking at community radio. Community radios stations are struggling because, first of all, they don't have markets. And the example that was given, someone was saying, now here's a community radio station, and this person wants from the community to give them advertising packages costing 5,000. And the question was that, but who from the community will dish out 5,000 just like that? And part of the discussion was that, no, get your audience, get the small amounts. Once you have the traction, then use that market size to bring in the bigger guys to come on board. But we also believe that the bigger public broadcasters should form part of assisting community radio stations so that they don't die in the process, because they also play a role of detailing and telling their stories as they relate to the areas where they're originating from.
I love that. Stanley, thank you so much for your passion and for your insights on this very important matter. We certainly hope that public broadcasters like the SABC lead the charge when it comes to digital rights management, and that we do a much better job in ensuring that we are standing on the right side of the law. It is now 31 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African time. The voice there of Stanley Smilo, President of South Africa Broadcasting Association, SABA. Musibudi Makura is standing by with the sports news.
Thank you, Tebogo. A very good afternoon from the sports desk. We'll start here. So French club Lyon have been demoted to League 2 because of the poor state of their finances. Now, the club was so French club demoted by the DNGC, the body which oversees the accounts of French professional football clubs, in November. Now, Lyon officials, including owner John Textor, met with the DNGC on Tuesday, but failed to convince the body that the club had sufficiently improved their financial situation to lift the punishment. Now, last October, his Eagle Football Group, which owns a 77% stake in Lyon, announced debts of around $601 million. In a statement, Lyon said the DNGC's decision was incomprehensible and also confirmed that they would appeal this decision. Now, Lyon's relegation could also prove significant to Crystal Palace's hopes of playing in the Europa League next season. Their participation is currently in doubt because of the UEFA rules, which prevent multiple teams under one multi-club ownership structure competing in the same European competition. Now, Textor owns stakes in both clubs, although he has agreed a deal to sell his 43% share in Palace on Monday. We'll stay with football news. So newly signed Borussia Dortmund midfielder Job Bellingham says the FIFA Club World Cup has played a big role in his integration into the group. Now, the younger brother of Real Madrid as well as England international Jude Bellingham joined the German Giants just before the tournament started in the USA for a reported fee of a little over $30 million from Sunderland. Now, Bellingham made his full debut in a 4-3 win over Mamelodi Sundowns in the group stages of the Club World Cup and also scored a goal in that game. He spoke about the benefits of travelling to a major tournament with his teammates.
They've been really good. Like the way I see it, lads have really helped me settle in, and it's been a different experience because rather than signing and having a summer off, I've got a chance here and an opportunity to meet everyone and get to grips with how we play and how the coach wants us to play as a team. So on and off the pitch, it's a really beneficial experience for me. I think to be here with the team so soon, they get to know me better and I get to know the team, as I've said. I think it's been really positive so far.
Now, Dortmund will take on Ulsan HD of South Korea in their final group stage game later on tonight, and Bellingham wants to build from the victory over Sundowns, especially now that he's also made his mark.
Sure, it's a little bit surreal really. When the ball hits the net, it's just crazy. Everything happens so slowly. But yeah, I'm really pleased. I think the conditions make it so difficult, especially for us being a European team, and they played a fantastic game. And I'm sure they're used to that kind of weather, but we definitely aren't. But it's something we're going to have to adapt to as the tournament goes on. That's just the demands of this competition. It was really difficult.
On to some tennis news rather. Breakout Roland Garros star Louise Besson saw her hopes of a maiden Wimbledon main draw appearance ending in the first round of qualifying. The 22-year-old rose to 65 in the world rankings, her fairy tale run to the French Open semi-finals, as she was ranked 361st in the world at that time during the course of the French Open. However, the cut-off to enter the main draw is about 6 weeks before the tournament, when Besson was also still ranked outside of the top 400. That meant that she had to go through qualifying, where on Tuesday she suffered a 6-2, 6-7, 6-4 defeat by Canada's world number 197 Carson Bryanston. Now, Bryanston will now face compatriot as well as longtime friend Bianca Andreescu for a place in the third round of qualifying for the third Grand Slam tournament of the year. And finally, Jamaica's track icon Shelly Ann Fraser-Price will compete in a final national championships when they kick off this week. The 3 times Olympic gold medalist saying winding down one of athletics' most decorated careers. The 10 times world gold medalist previously announced her comeback to the track for 2025, in which she was widely expected to be her final year of competition, saying she had unfinished business. Now, the 38-year-old also told reporters on Monday that the Jamaican National Championships that start on Thursday would be her last. The qualifying event for this year's World Championships, to run from the 12th until the 21st of September in Tokyo, Japan, comes after a disappointing run at the Olympic Games in Paris last year, where she missed her 100-meter semi-final after sustaining an injury during a warm-up session. It's 14:36 p.m. Central African Time. That's a wrap of your sports news this hour. I'm back with more sports news in the third and final hour of The Upside. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibu Di Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
An investigation by South Africa's non-profit organization Open Secrets has found that telecoms company MTN has played a role in shutting down the internet during elections and wars in Sudan, Cameroon, Iran, Afghanistan and Uganda, thus enabling governments to silence the opposition.
Interestingly, this isn't just unique to MTN. I think the report also looks at Vodacom DRC as being a proponent of one of these violations, particularly in shutting down the internet during the elections in 2018 and 2019. Autocratic regimes are able to utilize the licenses that they have with these telecom companies, basically to, suppress political dissent. And the result is that many people are left without connectivity. And not only does this affect people's ability to communicate with their loved ones and access vital emergency services, but also at a very basic level of access to information.
The Open Secrets investigator, Lu Vorne Unduli.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa. Weekdays from 1 to 2 p.m. Central African Time.
Well, it's 37 minutes after 2 p.m. Central African Time. Let's head on over now. Central African Time. Let's head on over now, or hand the mic over to Buntle Headbush, who has your business news.
On Channel Africa, the African perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo, and a very good afternoon to our listeners. In our top story this afternoon, Ghana's parliament has approved a $2.8 billion debt restructuring deal with 25 creditor nations, including China and France. This will aid disbursements under an International Monetary Fund bailout program, which will help alleviate the country's worst economic crisis in decades. The West African nation, the world's second largest cocoa producer, signed a memorandum of understanding with its creditors in January after defaulting on most of its external debt in December 2022. Under the restructuring terms, debt service payments due between the 20th of December 2022 and the 31st of December 2026 will be rescheduled, capitalized, and repaid from 2039 to 2043, delaying repayments by over 15 years. Ghana continues negotiations with commercial creditors to complete its debt restructuring. Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs Director of the Global Institutions Unit, Ambassador Bibi Haman, has called for urgent action to tackle illicit financial flows and advance debt relief across the African continent. Speaking to Channel Africa at the third G20 Sherpas meeting in Northwest South Africa, held under the theme Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability, Haman noted that amid escalating geopolitical tensions and growing protectionism, the G20 has a critical role to play in promoting global stability and fostering peace.
As Nigeria, we advocate for the priorities set aside by South Africa and the G20, which also tailored to the emancipation of Africa. And also we call for the support for the deepening of measures to combat corruption, including timely return of illicit financial flows, and also including repatriation of any profit or proceeds that accrued, in this illicit financial flow that goes somewhere else from Africa.
CEO of Financial Ombud, Rihanna Stein, says the highest number of complaints they received from consumers last year were about fraud identification, car insurance, and inflated charges for home and bank accounts. The scheme released its latest figures, revealing that South Africa's biggest banks were the subject of the majority of the complaints received between March and December last year. The NFO has recovered more than $18 million for consumers across all financial sectors. Stein says they dealt with over 30,000 cases.
The bank with the highest number of complaints last year was Capitec, but we always caution to say that they also by far the bank with the most clients. So it does not mean necessarily that they fared worse, because they only opened not even 100 cases more than the next bank. The next one was FNB, second, and then you're followed by Standard Bank and Nedbank. I think it follows also the number of clients that these banks have. There really is a need for an office such as ours. Consumers do need the help, and they need the free assistance because it do seem that financial services industry, there are issues.
The 7th Africa Youth and Tourism Innovation Summit is underway in Johannesburg, South Africa, bringing together young entrepreneurs, industry experts, and government officials from across the continent. Speaking on behalf of South Africa's Tourism Minister, Patricia de Lille, Dr. Sipho Ngomane from the Department of Tourism highlighted the urgent need to rethink the role of tourism in addressing youth unemployment.
Youth unemployment remains one of the greatest challenges facing the continent. And while tourism has immense potential to generate jobs, access remains uneven, particularly for our young people. That is why we must reimagine tourism, not just as a leisure industry, but as a strategic platform for innovation, skills development, digital transformation, and inclusive entrepreneurship.
The shares of one of Europe's biggest digital payments processors, Worldline, lost a quarter of their value in early trading today after an investigation by 21 European media outlets alleged that the French company had covered up client fraud to protect revenue. The dirty payments investigation, which the media outlets say is based on confidential internal documents and data from Worldline, alleged the company accepted questionable clients across Europe. Worldline shares fell as much as 25.5% in early Paris trading. The company handles $580 billion worth of transactions annually. And now for a look at our indicators, $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 547. In Botswana, it's 13 pula 28. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 57, and in Zambia, it's 23 kwacha 20. Moving to the BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 rial 49. Russia, 78 rubles 44. India, 86 rupees 3. China, it's 7 yuan 17, and South Africa, $1 is trading at 17 rand 74 cents. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Looking at commodities at this hour, gold is trading at $3,327, platinum at $1,298 per ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $67.67 a barrel. And those are your business news. For any business stories you'd like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +27 11 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Bontle Hetbush.
Business news on Channel Africa. The African perspective. No matter where you are, Channel Africa is always with you. The Morning Switch Weekend with the Shy Guy.
Matuka Wanji Nonse, Zukani, the Shy Guy, a Morning Switch.
Have you ever listened to a song and then it gives you goosebumps? Because it takes you way back in the 80s. My goodness. Yay! Woo! Hey, baby. You hear Yvonne Chaga Chaga there. I wanna talk to the DJ. And then the DJ goes like, hey baby, I've got you on the other side. Huh? There were no WhatsApps then, right? There were no sliding in the DMs at the time. Oh man.
Your weekend mornings are activated with the Shy Guy on the Morning Switch. Connecting Africa to the world. The Upside. Your daily dose of inspiration, innovation, and untold stories from across Africa. With Nompumelelo and Tebogo.
Well, it's 14 minutes. Well, it's 14 minutes before 3 p.m. Central African Time. We are still coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa. For the special broadcast, we are at the Africa Radio Broadcasters Convention 2025. How digital platforms and AI are reshaping the way we do radio and how we need to adapt before we get left behind. Let's revisit a conversation that we had earlier during the day. We were struggling a bit with the technical glitches, but we have her back on the line. Stream our content and the live stream on our social media platforms at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube. Alvy's Drift, a name known for more than just fine wines. Nestled in the Brede River Valley, the estate has taken its role in community development seriously this time around, growing its partnership with the Indaba Institute, an organization dedicated to early childhood development and education and teacher training in South Africa. With every bottle of the Albertus Viljoen Icon range, a portion of the proceeds will go to support real educational outcomes through the Institute. But it's more than just that. There's a broader picture at play here. The estate is also providing housing, education and development opportunities for over 500 workers and their families. To further unpack the conversation and tell us a bit more about this partnership, we are joined back on the line by Janelle Female, representative of Alvy's Drift and Cape Wine Master. Janelle, thank you so much for your time and welcome back to the Upside.
Oh, thank you very much, and good afternoon to all the listeners.
Good afternoon to you indeed. Let's start at the basics. I asked earlier your role and your involvement in the wine industry. For many, it seems a very exclusive industry. How did you find yourself in it?
Well, I think post my university studies, where I had all intention to become a teacher, and then I got involved in the wine industry and started studying the subject of wine. I suddenly discovered it's not about that liquid in your glass in front of you.
That makes us feel good.
So deep. Yeah, no, not only that, but so many pathways. It takes you to culture, it takes you to history, it takes you to geography, it takes you to chemistry, to biochemistry. And by digging deeper and deeper, you suddenly just find yourself traveling through wine, learning so much about the world of wine. And that's where it started. And then, of course, I got involved more in the educational part. So for many, many years, and I still am, I lectured for the Cape Wine Academy of South Africa. And then, of course, later years got involved more in the marketing aspect, both nationally and internationally. And through this path, I met, of course, my husband, who is Alfie van der Merwe from Alvy's Drift. So now I have to play a very important role. And we work together, and we have to build the future for the generations together.
It's become a family business. And Janelle, why didn't you mention that you're also a national swimmer at some stage in your life?
I was, but I did many silly things in my life. So, yeah, national Cape, I did all this master swimming, I did Argus racing, I've done crazy things. I've done open water swimming for many years. But now, I think my life at Alvy's Drift has really, really got the best of me. So now, it's just all my energy trying to grow this brand and establish it well, not just here, but also internationally. So, yeah. And now my only exercise I get is when I run on the farm with my dog.
I love that. Well, we'll continue the conversation about this partnership between Alvy's Drift and the Indaba Institute, an organization dedicated to early childhood development and teacher training in South Africa. It's 10 minutes before 3 p.m. Central African time. Don't go anywhere. We're still in conversation with Janelle Female, representative of Alvy's Drift and Cape Wine Master.
Get ready.
Era of industrial innovation.
This week on Channel Africa Conversations, Peter talks energy. From renewables to policy shifting, innovations to inventions, and how it all connects to Africa's future.
Surely we can use batteries and battery minerals to transform Africa from an extractive economy to a manufacturing economy.
Do you want to stay ahead of the energy curve? Then don't miss our brand new podcast episode, dropping on Thursday, 24th of April on SABC Plus and on YouTube. Channel Africa, the African perspective. The Upside, live and real.
Well, it's
Upside, live and real.
Well, it's 9 minutes before 3 p.m. Central African time. Let's continue our conversation with the representative of Elvis Drift and Cape Wine Master Janelle Female about the collaboration between Elvis Drift and the Indaba Institute. Janelle, let's talk about this partnership. What inspired it? What sparked this collaboration and partnership?
What it sparked was a simple visit from the creator of the Indaba, which is Andre Shearer, and he visited us at the farm. And when we heard about his, the institute and the philosophies, especially concerning the Montessori, the Montessori educational concept, we were extremely interested, and then said to him, well, how can one become part of this? And it was like that, in this friendly way that, visiting us at the farm, that Alfie actually, together with Andre Shearer, made a decision that if we collaborate with one of the ranges of our wines, now we have several tiers of wines that we produce, but the range of wine that is now collaborating with the Indaba Institute is our icon range called the Albertus Viljoen range. Now this, just to understand in the wine language, would be almost the top of the tier. These come from, well, it's produced with an intent of quality. It takes time. And there's a lot of value that goes behind the wine as such, as much as the value to invest in a child or in the future of our community. And that was how it all started. And ended up that for the icon range, for our Albertus Viljoen wines, which is 2 white wines and the red, for every bottle that's sold, a proportion will go towards the Indaba Institute, funding these teachers to be, first of all, educated and trained within the Montessori concept, and then again teach our children. And I don't know if you know how much the community for us means, because I think this is what also attracted Andre when he came to visit us, to see what you see is real. We are family farms. We have built a legacy over generations. It all started with our grandmother that taught the children on the veranda when they came to fetch their milk. And then the people came, and our people were educated by her. She taught them. And then eventually she started schools, and that's how it all sort of Now we can take the next step and do something very special for our community once again. And this is the philosophy of our family and of our farm altogether.
Oh, wow.
Just to build forth on our people, better their lives, sustain them. This is very much about sustainability here for our land and our people.
Oh, I love that. Janelle, let's talk about the real impact, the direct impact that you have seen so far through this partnership and how it has developed childhood or early childhood development, or the teacher trainings. How has that directly impacted them based on what you've seen so far?
Well, I must be very honest with you. Remember, we have just launched this project.
Okay.
What we have now is 2 very excited teachers from one of our schools here, Melanie and Carmen. They already enrolled for a year course, so that is presented by the Indaba Institute. So the people will come, they will go and attend classes, and their teachers and guides will come here and guide them and teach them here. And this would be for a whole year. And then I would be able to say, look at our children, look how the school's changed, look what the children are doing and the development. But then this is what the launch about. This is the beginning. And also notice that the wine with a concept is going worldwide, because next month I fly to Amsterdam, and I have a media conference there, obviously to do some work for our brand, but altogether the media is completely interested in this concept. So, and the headquarters of Montessori is situated in Holland, so in the Netherlands. So it's very much attracted their attention, and I hope that through that the support of buying the Albertus Viljoen wines will flow forward, so that we can fund our wish, our dream, our passion project for our community and our people here.
In fact, what I should have asked, what are you hoping to achieve, and what are you hoping the results will be through this partnership? So just walk us through how we can support as the public and as media houses sharing this story and this partnership. What needs to be done? All we need to do is just buy a bottle from the Albertus Viljoen Icon range. That's all we need to do, and we know that we'll be giving to a good cause.
Absolutely, and that is correct. And hopefully, in tasting the wine, because as I always said, the wine has the power to enjoy. Of course, we all know that. You said that in the beginning. Yeah, it was a wine created with it was a wine absolutely made with intent. It can also bring change, and measurable change, and that is the collaboration with the Indaba Institute. But if you taste it and you wish, may I dream, and one day when these children are adults, they can also reflect, this is not a wine that's going to go away. This is a wine from a legacy. This is a wine that's not going to die. I mean, those children are young now. Pretty soon they're adults, and they'll look back and say, this wine has a story to tell. And we will always be connected with that. Likewise, some wines are funding for the rhino conservation or the leopards or the mountain leopards or so. But this is for our people and the wider community out there. When do you make the change? When you're a child. And when are they the most vulnerable is between the years of birth to 6 years, and they shape. And that will shape them into confident adults. But the schooling and the memory they have here, that's where it all begins. And hopefully it will spread to the wider community. But the one way to start is here and now. How do you make a difference at home? You make it here, but we do it with our people here.
And Janelle, just finally, before we let you go, where can people find this range? Is this online or in stores?
Yes. The best would be to go online, to go on Alfie's Drift online and order it. We've got a very good service and a very quick delivery. These are icon wines, shops like Nomadelos. They would have that. Some of the top macros will have it, like your Whitney and so on. But it's not a range that you find around every corner. So for you back at home listening, go online, look at the range, and then you know where you are with that. But always be on the lookout for it, of course.
I love that.
And then, of course, if anybody ever comes in, please contact us and come and see for yourself how we live and what we do here with our people around us.
Oh, I love the fact that you're giving back as a winery and as a representative of Alfie's Drift and Cape Wine Master. Thank you so much for giving back to the community through the work that you're doing. The voice there, ladies and gentlemen, of Janelle, female representative of Alfie's Drift and Cape Wine Masters, telling us about the collaboration and partnership between Alfie's Drift and the Indaba Institute, an organization dedicated to early childhood education and development and teacher training in South Africa. All you need to do is buy a bottle of the Albertus Viljoen Icon range, and with every bottle that is sold, a portion of the proceeds will go to supporting real educational outcomes through the Institute. It's 3 p.m. Central African Time. Onelin Nsinzi has your news.
The African Perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo. Looking at your top stories, the High Court in South Africa holds the burial of the former Zambian President Edgar Lungu, and today's workshop on National Public Health Institutes underway in Zimbabwe. Your latest news, greetings to our listeners. Now an update, the spokesperson of the Lungu family, Makibi Zulu, says today's court ruling in Pretoria was an agreement between both the Zambian government and the family of the late former Zambian President Edgar Lungu. His comments come after the High Court in Pretoria earlier halted Lungu's burial. Zulu was speaking to the media outside the church in Johannesburg where the burial was supposed to take place today. He said this gives the family an opportunity to tell Dr. Edgar Lungu's story. Now, CC Channel Africa reporter is at the church where the president was to be buried. CC, what is the latest following the judgment earlier?
Good afternoon again, Onale and the listeners. The latest is that we spoke to Makebi Zulu, who's the family spokesperson, the Lungu family spokesperson, and he said, like you have said, the court ruling was a mutual agreement between the parties, and he said that this will give the family, an opportunity to tell Dr. Lungu's story. He said that at the time of his death, Dr. Lungu was stripped of his presidential benefits. He said he came to South Africa as an ordinary person. He was stripped of benefits like medical insurance or rather health insurance, his accommodation, his security. Zulu further saying that he wants Zambians to know how the late president's life was before he died.
Well, thank you, CC, for that update. Moving further on, media houses have now been barred from covering protests currently underway in the Kenyan capital, Nairobi. The protests are aimed at marking the one-year anniversary of the anti-government protests that killed at least 60 people and culminated in the storming of the National Parliament. Protests erupted in parts of Kenya with police firing tear gas at protesters. Schools and businesses have been closed and police have warned against attempts to access the State House and Parliament. Our correspondent in Kenya, Alex Kiari, explains.
We just received a communication from Kenya's communications regulator, the Communication Authority of Kenya, which has ordered for the end of all live broadcasts of the ongoing protests in the country. And they are citing this as saying that it's a security threat and contrary to Article 33, Section 1 of the Kenyan Constitution, which allows them that chance to do that. But the president of the Kenya Editors Guild is on air protesting this move because the right to protest and to broadcast is also enshrined in the Kenyan Constitution, and as long as media houses are paying the statutory dues to the CAK, they are therefore allowed to broadcast without any interference.
At least 17 soldiers have been killed in northern Nigeria where gunmen stormed 3 army bases. This is the latest assault in a region plagued by violence. Armed gangs operating in the northwest, known locally as bandits, typically engage in kidnapping for ransom and target security forces. The Nigerian army has confirmed the attacks but did not provide details. Insecurity has stretched Nigeria's military as it confronts armed gangs alongside Islamist groups Boko Haram and an Islamic State affiliate in the northeast of the country. A 2-day workshop on National Public Health Institutes is underway in Harare, aimed at strengthening the regional health infrastructure. This is in response to the COVID-19 pandemic that affected the entire world, but Africa was the hardest hit owing to poor health delivery. Participants include senior health officials, government leaders, and public health professionals from across Southern Africa. Regional Director of the Center for Disease Control, Dr. Lou Riek, explains.
But specifically allow me to say these meeting themes is strengthening information, knowledge sharing, and peer-to-peer mentorship in promoting healthy, equitable, resilient communities.
Lastly, the head of the UN's nuclear watchdog, the IAEA, Rafael Grossi, says it's undeniable that Iran maintains the industrial capacity and technical knowledge for its nuclear program. His comments come as Iran's parliament has voted to suspend cooperation with the UN agency. The BBC's Bethany Bell.
Mr. Grossi said his top priority was getting his inspectors back to Iran's nuclear sites to assess the impact of the military strikes and verify its stocks of enriched uranium. We need to return and re-engage with Iran, he said. Asked about the leaked US intelligence report, Mr. Grossi said he didn't like what he called an hourglass approach. He said what was needed was a solution that stood the test of time. He said there was a chance for diplomacy which should not be missed.
Recapping on your top stories, the High Court in Pretoria has halted the burial of the former Zambian President Edgar Lungu. The Zambian government had filed a lawsuit against Lungu's family earlier, seeking to stop his burial in South Africa today. Channel Africa News, I am Onele Nzinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
It's 7 minutes on. It's 7 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time. Can you believe it? The final hour of The Upside, a special broadcast this afternoon. We're coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa, for the Africa Radio Broadcasters Convention 2025. My name is Tebogo Lekhuleni, with you until 4 p.m. Central African Time. Unfortunately, if you've just joined us, where have you been? We've been having rather interesting, important conversations, how AI and the digital landscape is changing the way we do radio. And you're more than welcome to chime in on these conversations and let us know what you think the future of radio actually looks like with the introduction of AI. +27 63 406 9126 is the WhatsApp line. In this hour, we get into conversation with Jason Goliath, stand-up comedian, entrepreneur, all-round nice guy. Jason Goliath will be joining us this afternoon to talk to us about their new tour with him and Nicholas Goliath, The Happiness Economy. And the whole concept behind it is to bring happiness back into the lives of South Africans through lived experiences. There is humor in almost anything and everything. It's about perspective, isn't it? So we'll be talking to Jason about this tour, and then later on we've got a very special interview lined up, so you do not want to miss out on that one. It is 9 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time. I am still waiting for someone to give me an answer for the quiz that I have put up on social media, on my own personal platform. I asked, name that African flag. My flag features a green vertical stripe on the left with horizontal yellow and red stripes on the right. My colors symbolize hope, wealth, and courage. I am home to the ancient kingdom of Dahomey and the birthplace of voodoo. Which African country am I? Or which African flag am I? If you think you know the answer, send it through on our WhatsApp line, +27 63 406 9126, or comment below the live streams on Facebook and YouTube at Channel Africa. It's the final hour of The Upside. Welcome.
Décision comme un désengagement durable des États-Unis vis-à-vis du développement africain, ou s'agit-il d'un simple réalignement stratégique?
Bon, ça peut être les deux à la fois. Donc, au lieu de donner de l'argent à la Banque africaine de développement pour partager en vrac, ils préfèrent maintenant donc cibler les pays partenaires en Afrique. Ça, c'est pour le réalignement stratégique. Alors, et aussi, ce n'est pas un désengagement durable, mais je pense que dans les 2 ou 3 prochaines années, il veut d'abord remettre de l'ordre dans ses affaires.
Vue d'Afrique. Du lundi au vendredi, de 15h à 16h, temps universel.
If it's news and current affairs, leading opinions, and thought leaders that get your groove, this is your home, The Upside.
I'm feeling vibes on vibes. I'm a ticking dynamite.
Has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future. Africa is a story, a living, breathing, ever-evolving masterpiece. And for over 5 decades now, one voice has told it like no other. Channel Africa. More than just a broadcaster, Channel Africa is the pulse of the continent. African-led, African-run, and deeply rooted in its heritage. It's the only international station that speaks to Africa in its own voices. English, Kiswahili, Chinyanja, French, and Portuguese. The languages that unite 1 billion people. We have been there through every shift, every milestone, and every triumph. Not just reporting history, but shaping the conversations that define Africa's future. For brands, media planning, and advertisers, Channel Africa is more than just a platform. It's an opportunity. With 25 compelling shows covering current affairs, sports, business, music, and lifestyle, we deliver an engaging Pan-African audience ready to connect, invest, and act. Multi-award winning, internationally recognized, digitally accessible across the globe. When Africa speaks, the world listens, and Channel Africa makes sure of it. For business, for culture, for Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice. For Africa, partner with Channel Africa because Africa's voice is the future.
Club in Johannesburg, South Africa. For the
Africa is a story.
Wondrous Club in Johannesburg, South Africa. For the Africa Radio Broadcasters Convention 2025. We're talking about how AI and the digital platform are transforming the way we do radio. And if you'd like to chime in on what you think the future of radio looks like, let us know on our WhatsApp line, +27 63 406 9126. Let's get into a conversation with the man with all the jokes. Actually, it doesn't just have all the jokes. What an incredible human being he also is. After selling out shows across the country, the happiness economy returns. But with even more heart, pain, and punchlines, as Jason Goliath and Nicholas Goliath have now redefined comedy as a tool for healing, revealing and honest reflection on what happiness really looks like on the African continent, especially in South Africa today. And to tell us a bit more about this tour, we are joined by the man himself, Jason Goliath. Jason, good afternoon and welcome to The Upside.
Thank you for having me.
Words together, but incredible work.
I feel honored. Thank you.
Listen, that's all you. I just had to piece the words together. But incredible work that you're always doing with your brothers. And I need to find out, happiness is such a broad term. Let's start here perhaps. What does happiness mean to you, Jason Goliath? Jason, apologies if you were speaking on the other line and I wasn't actually able to get that. Jason, apologies if you were speaking on the other line and I wasn't able to pick you up. If you can try that again, please, if you don't mind. Apologies. All right, we seem to have lost Jason Goliath on the line there. Again, some technical issues. Apologies for that. I want to know what it means to him. What does happiness mean to you? To him, what does happiness mean to you? And I would love to hear your input on that. If you have a definition for happiness, because some people say, happy is just a temporary. What do you think? What does happiness? Happiness is not something that you pursue. Pursue joy. Happiness is temporary. What do you think? What does happiness mean to you? We'll have our conversation with Jason in a moment's time. Hopefully we'll get him back on the line to tell us about the tour that's coming up. It's called The Happiness Economy with his brother Nicholas Goliath. Jason, we have you back on the line. Sorry for that. Are you still with us?
It's something that plays with my happiness on a daily basis.
And in actual fact, sticking to that theme of happiness, I was asking earlier, and I know you were trying to answer it, what does happiness mean to you personally as Jason Goliath?
So I think you alluded to it earlier. It's such a layered question, which begs a layered response. So as I said, Nicholas and I spent hundreds of hours having conversations about what happiness is. We were devastated when we realized that if you ask a room with 100 people in it, maybe 20% have an idea, and 50% of those 20% give you generic answers like my kids make me happy, my husband makes me happy, things that are obviously supposed to give you joy. And we just couldn't understand it with so much literature being dedicated to happiness, movies, the pursuit of happiness. And I think something that we all crave so much. So we started a podcast called The Happiness Economy to literally just investigate and get data. So we invited people who, based on their Instagram, for example, we thought were happy. Almost everybody's happy on Instagram. And
always.
The sole purpose was to interrogate 100. No one misses the debit order on Instagram. And our sole purpose was to interrogate that happiness and see if possibly we can come up with a formula that you can apply to your life. And by the end of that, let me tell you, firstly, I realized that my idea of happiness was completely off the mark. We realized that happiness only exists in the moment, and the thing that most of us seem to be searching for, based on the fairy tales that we all listened to growing up, is more peace and joy than happiness itself, as happiness is a momentary thing, where joy and peace, I think, is the thing that you're looking for overall. And essentially what the show does is it gives us a platform in terms of the comedy version now to share some ridiculous stories that really, make us happy and joyful, and help us understand the little keywords that we've derived from all of the interviews that we did.
Well, we certainly hope that we'll get a story or two from you before this interview ends. We're currently in conversation with Jason Goliath to tell us about their upcoming tour, The Happiness Economy, with his brother Nicholas. And if you are interested in joining and showing support, and if you are interested in joining and always just been a fan of the Goliaths, this is a conversation you do not want to miss out on. It's 20 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African time. We continue the conversation right after this.
For economic development in Africa, but there, Dr. Sidi Ould Tah, he is vying for the presidency of the African Development Bank, the AFDB. He positions himself as a fervent defender of economic integration and structural transformation on the African continent.
Well, I do believe that I have a 360 view of the development challenges in the continent, with my experience from both the supply side and the demand side. But more importantly, my vision is to bring on board all the stakeholders and to have a holistic approach for the development of the continent, and to develop partnership across the continent and outside the continent, bringing all the stakeholders together to work for one goal, is to make Africa great for life and livelihood of the African population.
Bringing the African markets into your home. Channel Africa, the African perspective. This is The Upside, for the best African vibes, groundbreaking content.
It is
Vibes, groundbreaking content.
It is exactly 21 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African Time. Welcome back to The Upside on Channel Africa, the African perspective. Catch us live on our social media platforms at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube. We are still in conversation with the man of the moment, Jason Goliath, about the upcoming The Happiness Economy Tour with his brother Nicholas. Jason, through your podcast, The Happiness Economy, you've interviewed so many people. What have you found have been the reasons for their happiness in terms of what different people pursue and perceive as being happiness or happy? What have you found have been similarities amongst the guests who have been on your show in them expressing what happiness really means?
The older you get, the less you worry about what people think. And I think we live in a time, particularly now, where we are so concerned about A, what others are doing, and B, what others' opinions are of ourselves.
Yeah.
And I think that, I figured out that that's why the saying life begins at 40, that's where it comes from, because it's at 40 when you realize, why am I stressing about people that are not involved in my debit orders? Why do I give other people's opinions so much power? So that, coupled with the fact that I think once you get a bit older, you kind of figure out what you want and are less influenced by what everybody around you has or is doing or has achieved already. And it gives you a much clearer focus on kind of what you are trying to do and what you are trying to achieve. Those basics, I think, were present in just about every conversation. And then being able to have not only acceptance of self and where you are and acceptance of other people, but the way you perceive the world is the way you will enjoy the world. And very often, I think a lot of us don't manage our perceptions of the world. We don't manage the way we see things, the way we react to things. Nicholas's favorite quote within the show, and I feel like I'm giving so much away, is, life is basically the 5% rule, which states life is 5% what happened, 95% how you respond. And I think that so many of us allow insignificant things to impact us and give insignificant things a 95% reaction where so much doesn't deserve a reaction.
Jason, you have said many a time that laughter heals, laughter reveals. Let's talk about the people that you were listening to growing up. People, and maybe not just growing up, in your own life, who have been icons that have brought laughter and revelation to your own life when you were going through difficulties. Who are those people? Who are those stand-up comedians? Who are those actors, if you will, who inspired that for you and who inspired you through the pain and through the challenges?
Oh man, what a question! There's so many. I think from a comedic point of view, the first comedian I fell in love with, like so many of us, was Eddie Murphy's Raw and Delirious tapes went so viral before virality was even a thing. And watching him in those leather outfits just tell stories to the world that we thought weren't supposed to. You're not supposed to tell stories about your auntie. You're not supposed to tell stories about how poor you were. You're not supposed to share those stories. And this guy just had this way of expressing stories in such a relatable way. So I think Eddie definitely played a big part. And then I think the one that got me into comedy, I wasn't even a big fan of Chris Rock, but in 2008, Chris Rock came to South Africa. I was so broke. One of my friends said, look, he's not going to buy an expensive ticket. He'll buy a cheap ticket so that he can buy two, and him and I can go together. And watching Chris Rock in front of 5,000 people at the Sun City Super Bowl, I will never forget the moment when I realized that Chris Rock had me and 5,000 people in physical pain. Like we were physically hunched over. And I looked at this environment, and after thinking to myself, yes, can this guy just stop for 20 seconds just so my abs can release? You know what I mean? And I looked around the room, and I realized that this is true power. This guy doesn't have a weapon. This guy is not spitting negativity, but just based on his words, he's able to make us physically feel something. And I think it was that moment when I realized, like, that was the most attracted to power I had ever been. I was like, I want that power of being able to get a physical reaction from people, an involuntary one at that, just using my words. So I think that was definitely a major influence. My favorite comedian is Bernie Mac, and I think when I watched the late great Bernie Mac talk today, it was the fact that, I like him, I bully the audience into laughing. You're going to laugh whether you're in a good mood or not. We're going to break through whatever you were feeling before the show. And that's how I always say comedy is like a holiday for your soul. You know what I mean? You can't stress about life and laugh at the same time. And making somebody laugh is, I think, just that necessary, much needed break that everybody needs. And then in terms of locals, people like the late, great Charlene Suter Richards, who would always play these amazingly South African characters that I could relate to. This was somebody that looked like me, looked like one of my aunties, sounded like one of my aunties, and helped, I think, so many people in my community believe that it was possible. And then I was fortunate enough to meet Charlene a couple of times, and the fact that she was exactly the same. And the same with people like Mark Lottering, where you meet them off stage and you are not disappointed as a fan, because as a human, they are just as joyful and peaceful as they were, portraying on stage. But there truly are too many to mention.
And Jason, I tell you what, you yourself have now become an icon where a lot of comedians, stand-up comedians wanting to get into this space are looking up to you and your brothers, and it's an amazing job that you guys are doing. Talk to us about the Happiness Economy. Give us the dates and where people can get their tickets.
Theatre in Monte Casino, and it's going to be running until the 6th of July with tickets available at Web Tickets. Week 1 was astounding, not only because people laughed, but some of the best comments we've got was, this is the first show where we laughed until we cried and cried until we cried, because it's a really vulnerable show, delivered in a way that we've never attempted before, and also just to we're not up there trying to be motivational speakers, but I think the show's intention is definitely to inspire people based on the extensive research that we've done on the subject matter. And I think it really gives people some wonderful insights into their own joy, their own peace, their own perceptions of happiness, and how at the end of the day, it's up to you. You're going to decide. You're in control. You're the writer of the story, the director of this movie. And so far, that's what it's been. So the show's called The Happiness Economy. If you don't buy into happiness and you just listen a comedy show, come through, because it's very, very funny and I think it'll satisfy you. But if you're going through something, come through. If you know somebody that's going through something, come through. And I think so many of us secretly are. And being, Men's Mental Health Awareness Month, it really gives me joy that myself and Nick are up there talking about the type of things that we are, being as vulnerable as we are. And I also hope it's just an encouragement to men to go, it's okay to be vulnerable. It's okay to be, to feel. It's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. It's okay. It's okay to cry. It's okay to laugh. It's okay.
Jason, I love this message and this story that you are sharing, and how important it is, especially for the modern man, where once upon a time it was frowned upon to cry and show your emotions. You are saying, listen, it is being a man that allows you to show those emotions and be a better human being. We wish you nothing but success for the Happiness Economy with your brother. Thank you so much for your time on The Upside this afternoon.
We will see you guys out at Monte again. Tickets are at Web Tickets. We're on until the 6th. Thank you so much for having me, and wishing you joy and peace, man.
I love that. The voice of Jason Goliath. Him and his brother Nicholas will be on the Happiness Economy tour. Check them out on Web Tickets at Monte Casinos, where they will be. It's now 30 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African time. For the last time on The Upside this afternoon, Musibudi Makura has your sports news.
Perspective.
Thank you, Tebogo. We'll start here. So Banyana head coach Dr. Desiree Ellis believes the final squad has enough versatility to help carry out the big task of defending their Women's Africa Cup of Nations title in Morocco. The squad includes with the 2 non-travelling reserves in Ntabiseng Machia, as well as Casey Gordon. Ellis says there are different phases in challenging for the continental title, which then requires players who can transition from one position to another in case key players get injured during the course of this year's competition.
And I think the friendlies also showed us the versatility that we have, and I think that's going to be very, very important. Versatility, you look at Refilwe Jani's probably played every position bar goalkeeper in the national team. When people say Ramalep is a defender, you've seen her play on the wing. So those type of things, those are the type of players we were looking for to give us more options, because in a tournament like this, you got to make sure that you rotate. You got to make sure when the right time is to rotate, and then you got to make sure that you have your players ready for when you get to the latter stage of the tournament.
Ellis also explains why rising star Gordon will remain a non-travelling reserve, also citing the lack of experience and also adding that it would be unwise to throw her in the deep end.
Casey lost out because of a lack of experience. You also have to make sure that if anything happens to your two goalkeepers, that you still have enough experience, and it wouldn't have been fair to throw her in at the deep end like that. There'll be more camps. There will be COSAFA Cups where you could give her experience. But yes, we do have a problem with goalkeeping. I think there aren't many good goalkeeper coaches out there, because when you go to matches and you see goalkeeper coaches just kicking balls at players, it doesn't help. And you see goalkeepers diving all over the show. But when they come into camp, they lack the basics.
Further field now, French club Lyon have been demoted to League 2 because of the poor state of their finances. Now, the club was provisionally demoted by the DNGC, the body which oversees the accounts of professional French football clubs, in November of last year. So the team's officials, include owner John Textor, met with the DNGC on Tuesday, but failed to convince the body that the club had sufficiently improved their financial situation to lift the punishment. Now, last October, his Eagle Football Group, which owns 77% stake in Lyon, announced debts of $601 million. In a statement, Lyon said the GNC's decision was incomprehensible and also confirmed they would be appealing this decision. The club's relegation could also prove significant to Crystal Palace's hopes of playing in the Europa League next season. Now, their participation is currently in doubt because of UEFA's rules, which prevent multiple teams under one multi-club ownership structure competing in the same European competition. Now, Textor also owns stakes in both the clubs, although he has agreed to sell a 43% share in Palace on Monday. Onto this now, newly signed Borussia Dortmund midfielder Job Bellingham says the FIFA Club World Cup has played a big role in his integration into the group. Now, the younger brother of Real Madrid as well as England international Jude joined the German Giants just before the tournament started in the USA for a reported fee of over just $30 million from Sunderland. Now, Bellingham made his full debut in a 4-3 win over South African side Mamelodi Sundowns in the group stages of the FIFA Club World Cup, and also scored a goal in that game. He spoke about the benefits of travelling to a major tournament with his teammates.
They've been really good at, like, the way I see it. The lads have really helped me settle in, and it's been a different experience because rather than signing and having a summer off, I've got a chance here and an opportunity to meet everyone and get to grips with how we play and how the coach wants us to play as a team. So on and off the pitch, it's a really beneficial experience for me. I think to be here with the team so soon, they get to know me better and I get to know the team, as I've said. I think it's been really positive so far.
And finally, in tennis news, breakout Roland Garros star Louise Besson saw her hopes of a maiden Wimbledon main draw appearance ending in the first round of qualifying. The 22-year-old rose to 65th in the world rankings following her fairy tale run to the French Open semi-finals as a 361st ranked wild card at the French Open. However, the cut off to enter the main draw is about 6 weeks before the tournament, when Besson was still ranked just outside the top 400. That meant also that she had to go through qualifying, where on Tuesday she suffered a 6-2, a 6-7 and 6-4 defeat by Canada's world number 197 Carson Beinstein. Now, Beinstein will face compatriot as well as long-time friend, that is Bianca Andreescu, for a place in the third and final round of qualifying. And that's a wrap of your sports news this hour. More sporting updates coming up in the next hour. For any sports stories you'd like to share with us, please send us an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or give us a call on +27 11714 4459. For Channel Africa Sport, I am Musibu Di Makura.
Sports on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África, com Moreno Samo e João Yabalá.
O surto da cólera em Angola tem causado grande preocupação, afetando já mais de metade das províncias do país. Simultaneamente, a Agência dos Estados Unidos para o Desenvolvimento Internacional, USAID, um dos maiores doadores mundiais de assistência humanitária, decidiu não priorizar os países com maior incidência de malária. Para discutirmos as causas do alastramento da cólera em Angola e os impactos dessa decisão da USAID, convidamos o Dr. Jeremias Agostinho, médico e mestre em saúde pública, para partilhar a sua visão sobre o tema.
A doença, nesse momento, representa o maior risco de saúde pública que nós temos. Nos últimos anos, a nossa preocupação esteve sempre centrado com os casos de malária, os casos de tuberculose e também de infecção por VIH-Sida. A forma como, em pouco menos de 2 meses, os casos de cólera vêm aumentando, acaba por representar, nessa altura, um dos maiores desafios que o país tem. É expectável que, nesta fase, o número de casos venha a aumentar.
De segunda a sexta-feira, das 20 às 21 horas locais, este é o Caleidoscópio de Canal África.
It is exactly 37 minutes. It is exactly 37 minutes after 3 p.m. Central African time. For the final time, for the last time on the upside this afternoon, Buntle Headbush has your business news.
On Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
Thanks, Tebogo, and good afternoon. In our top story at this hour, Burundi has commissioned the first phase of a $320 million hydropower project financed by lenders including the European Investment Bank, the African Development Bank, and the World Bank. Only 6% of the 13 million population have access to power in the small Central African nation. Its generation capacity is roughly 40 megawatts, according to the African Development Bank. The new project, with a combined generation capacity of 49.5 megawatts, involves 2 plants, Gigi and Mulembwe, developed on 2 small rivers in southern Burundi. The lenders of the project say this new capacity will not only improve access to electricity for thousands of people, but will also boost productivity in key sectors such as health, education, agribusiness, and ICT. Nigeria's Ministry of Foreign Affairs Director of Global Institutions Unit, Ambassador Bibi Haman, has called for urgent action to tackle illicit financial flows and advance debt relief across the African continent. Speaking to Channel Africa at the 3rd G20 Sherpas meeting in the northwest South Africa, held under the theme Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability, Haman noted that amid escalating geopolitical tensions and growing protectionism, the G20 has a critical role to play in promoting global stability and fostering peace.
As Nigeria, we advocate for the priorities set aside by South Africa and the G20, which also tailored to the emancipation of Africa. And also we call for the support for the deepening of measures to combat corruption, including timely return of illicit financial flows, and also including repatriation of any profit or proceeds that accrued, in this illicit financial flow that goes somewhere else from Africa.
Ghana's parliament has approved a $2.8 billion debt restructuring deal with 25 creditor nations, including China and France. This will aid disbursements under an International Monetary Fund bailout program, which will help alleviate the country's worst economic crisis in decades. The West African nation, the world's second largest cocoa producer, signed a memorandum of understanding with its creditors in January after defaulting on most of its external debt in December 2022. Under the restructuring terms, debt service payments due between the 20th of December 2022 and the 31st of December 2026 will be rescheduled, capitalized, and repaid from 2039 to 2043, delaying repayments by over 15 years. Ghana continues negotiations with commercial creditors to complete its debt restructuring. Commercial and small-scale farmers in the Vryheid area in South Africa's northern KwaZulu-Natal province say the outbreak of foot and mouth disease is crippling their farming business and the local economy. These farmers have been forced to halt the sale of their animals due to the outbreak. The area has been cited as one of the hotspots in the province. Farming in the area is one of the major businesses that contribute to the local economy. 34-year-old Wesley Glatz is amongst the affected commercial farmers.
Since about 4 years ago, it's started having an effect on our prices. Feedlot, which are our main buyers, view us as high risk for them. It's definitely had a negative effect on our prices. And the last 6 months or so, it's been moving closer and closer to, let's say, northern Natal or Vryheid area. So at the moment, we're on a bit of a lockdown due to the foot and mouth. It's got a huge effect on us. We can't move our cattle, or legally we're not allowed to sell to them, and the abattoirs as well. So yeah, we've got no market at this stage. Myself, I'd take my weaners to a sale, the Vryheid sale yards. My fat cows I take straight to the abattoir or to the sale yards, but all sales are banned at this stage.
NATO allies have pledged to increase their annual defense spending to a total of 5% of gross domestic product by 2035 and reaffirmed their commitment to collective defense, stating that an attack on one is an attack on all. In the declaration of their summit in The Hague today, NATO leaders say the defense pledge will consist of investments of at least 3.5% of GDP per year in core defense requirements. They have also vowed to spend up to 1.5% of GDP on security-related expenditures, including protection of critical infrastructure and strengthening the alliance's defense industrial base. NATO leaders say the investments are needed to face profound security threats, particularly the long-term threat posed by Russia. Now for a look at our indicators, $1 in Nigeria is trading at 1,000 naira 547. In Botswana, it's 13 pula 28. Kenya, the dollar is trading at 128 shilling 57, and in Zambia, it's 23 kwacha 20. The BRICS countries, $1 in Brazil is trading at 5 real 49, Russia 78 rubles 44, India it's 86 rupees 3, China 7 yuan 17, and South Africa $1 is trading at 17 rand 74 cents. $1 is trading at 73 pence to the British pound and 86 to the euro. Looking at commodities, gold is trading at $3,327 and platinum at $1,298 per ounce, while Brent crude oil is at $67.67 a barrel. And those are your business news at this hour. For any business story you would like to share with us, please send an email to newsroom@channelafrica.co.za or call us on +2711 714 4459. For Channel Africa Business, I am Bontle Headbush.
Business News on Channel Africa. The African Perspective. In this episode of Channel Africa Conversations, Peter talks to Dr. Thulisile Buddha, an academic, author, and an expert in indigenous knowledge systems. Join us for a compelling discussion on preserving African languages and traditions in the digital era. Dr. Thulisile unpacks the role of educators, explorers, and how technologies like AI can support cultural preservation, and challenges us to rethink how we honor African heritage. You can find the episode on YouTube, SABC Plus, and on our website, channelafrica.co.za. This episode is a must-listen for educators, creators, and change makers across the continent. Channel Africa, the African Perspective. The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
Well, it's 45 minutes. Well, it's 45 minutes after 4 p.m. or 3 p.m. Central African time. We're still coming to you live from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa for Africa Radio Broadcasters Convention 2025. We're talking about the impact that AI, the digital platforms now have on traditional radio and what we need to do to adapt so that we don't get left behind. In a world where audiences are scattered across apps, platforms and algorithms, radio's challenge is not just to stay relevant, but to lead. And at the heart of this challenge sits marketing. Understanding what today's audiences want, how they consume content for those who like on-demand content, and how technology like AI can unlock entirely new ways of connecting. Today, as the Africa Radio Broadcasting Convention takes place and tackles these questions, we are joined by the head of marketing at the SABC, Mr. Sbusiso Gumbi, to unpack how public broadcasters can reinvent themselves in the AI-powered digital world while staying true to their brand, their audiences, and their purpose. It's a good afternoon to you, Mr. Sbusiso. How are you doing this afternoon?
I am well, thank you. And how are you, Tebza?
I'm fantastic. It's exciting conversations that we've been having over the past 2 days. The role of AI, digital. This must be the kind of conversations that you live for as marketing.
Yeah. Good afternoon to all the listeners as well. These are daily conversations that we have from a marketing point of view. Because I think from a digital point of view, not just AI, there was a lot of disruption.
Yeah.
And I think one of the things that really accelerated digital and innovation, and possibly AI, we could say it's COVID-19.
Yes.
That's when a lot of people started to look for ways to really leverage on the digital element or part of it. And that's where we as broadcasters as well, we're finding ways to stay abreast with the developments as well. And if you can just remember, because AI started really being immersed into people's lives after COVID, maybe a year or two after COVID. But what's quite important is, so this is what I always say to people, AI is accessible to anyone.
Yeah.
But how you use AI, it's what differentiates you. So I do hear a lot of people talking about AI and the usage of AI.
Yeah.
But everyone can use AI, but how you use AI, it's what separates you from the rest. But when it comes to radio and media in itself, it's an entirety. I think radio is one medium that's able to adapt in anything. And we've heard people saying radio's dying whenever there were developments, but radio keeps on adapting itself.
Yeah.
But it's always the other way, because the radio actually enhances all these developments.
I love that.
Because I mean, there's no medium that that can easily speak about any new or innovative way of doing things. But radio has really used AI, and they speak about AI, they teach more people about AI, because it's not a threat to radio.
Yeah.
But at some point, we could say it's an enabler to what we are currently doing. So from a marketing point of view, it's how we use AI, be it from a radio point of view, or it could be from a marketing point of view. But what's quite important is authenticity. And that's what I think to date, that's what possibly there's a gap between the human touch and AI itself. And especially with a channel like Channel Africa, with so many languages that we use like it's not necessarily easy to use AI, because it still needs to learn more languages.
Absolutely,
And there's a factual element as well, in terms of, is the language being used right? So it comes even from a marketing point of view, if there are any hierarchy of messages that you want to use for your campaign. So what you get on AI, is it relatable to the audiences that you are speaking to or you are trying to target? But again, how do you prompt the same AI? What questions do you ask?
Hold that thought, Sbusiso, because as you would know, it's now 10 to 4. That means we have a bill to pay.
Yes.
Because
that's
marketing is very
Yeah.
important. It's 10 to 4 p.m. Central African time. Let's take a quick breather. When we come back, we continue the conversation with the head of marketing at the SABC, Mr. Sbusiso Gumbi.
Wa Afrika Kusini wenye asili ya kizungu ambao wamepewa ukimbizi huko nchini Marekani. Je, nini chanzo cha wao kuomba ukimbizi nchini Marekani?
Wenyewe wajaomba ukimbizi. Kuna shirika fulani inaitwa AfriForum, shirika mbili za wazungu ambao wanatetea haki ya wazungu hapa, AfriForum na Solidarity. Hao walienda Marekani kufanya kampeni kusema kwamba wazungu wananyanyaswa hapa Afrika Kusini, na walivyofanya hiyo kampeni, serikali iweze kuwafuatilia kujua nini ambacho mnasema kwamba mnanyanyaswa.
Kuna namna ya wao kwamba wamepoteza uraia wa Afrika Kusini, na je, endapo Trump akamaliza muda wake madarakani, uhalali wao wa kuishi nchini Marekani ukoje?
Itakuwa vigumu, kifupi itakuwa vigumu wenyewe kupoteza uraia wao.
Darubini ya Afrika 11 kamili hadi 12 kamili majira ya Afrika ya Kati.
The Upside. On the Upside, your voice matters.
Your voice.
Upside. Your voice matters.
Your voice indeed matters on the Upside with me, Tebogo Lekhuleni, with you all the way to 4 p.m. Central African Time. This is Channel Africa, the African Perspective. Stream us live on our social media platforms at Channel Africa on Facebook and YouTube. We are still live from the Africa Radio Broadcasters Convention 2025 at the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa. And alongside me, I'm sitting next to the head of marketing at the SABC about using AI, using the digital platforms to ensure that you convey your messages, right, in an authentic way, but don't get left behind as technology improves. Mr. Spusiso, let's talk about how the SABC is leveraging of AI, the digital platforms, so that the SABC doesn't get left behind. As a public broadcaster, you need to be spearheading the way when it comes to digital transformation.
That's true. I think just two examples. One would be the campaign that we did last year with 5FM. So we shot a whole ad with AI. So there was no human touch in terms of getting physical things that you would need to shoot, but everything was just all these things. It was AI. So that's where I saw the power of AI. But more than anything, what could have possibly costed us about $1 million was costing us way less. And the duration of completing that ad, the turnaround was quite quicker. So that would be the first one. And then for me, the second one, and not just about AI, but the just digital aspect of it, it's the SABC Plus app. For me, it just shows you how the public broadcaster keeps on reinventing itself. And how we also just ensure that from a consumer preferences, we align with the changing habits of our consumers, being our listeners and our advertisers as well. So I think for me, SABC Plus in the next year or two is going to be one of the biggest super apps that we have in Africa. With the current one that we have relaunched, we are currently on about just above 1.2 million, and it's been 8 to 9 months. We obviously almost a year.
And you already have an accolade as well.
And we already have an accolade. And we came second at the Switzerland Digital Awards. So for me, it just shows in terms of the potential for the app itself. But more than anything, I just love how there is no geo limitations. And especially for a radio station like Channel Africa, that's a gateway to Africa. And for me, that's an app that enables Channel Africa as well to play on a global role. And not just Channel Africa, but everyone within the SABC brands. So I think that on its own, it's just another way of the public broadcast just ensuring that they leverage on the digital aspect of it, and just ensuring that we keep our audiences, wherever they would be in the world, connected to the South African brands and African brands.
So it's been an exciting conversation, very short-lived, unfortunately, but thank you so much for the incredible work that you're doing at the SABC, and the app you mentioned, the SABC Plus app, they can download it on the Android, iOS platforms?
It's available on all platforms. Free? It's free as well. That's the most important aspect. It's a free app. All those viewing demands, things that you might have missed, it's available. And we know that our listeners are obviously going to want the platform to watch WAFCON, be it on the road or at home. So do register on SABC Plus, download on iOS and Android, and it's also available on your smart TVs as well at home.
Love that. Mr. Spusiso, thank you so much for your time this afternoon.
Yeah,
the voice there of the head of marketing at the SABC, Mr. Spusiso Gumbi, telling us how the SABC is utilizing the digital platforms and AI to get the message across, to be a spear or thought leader on the digital platform. I understand that now I'm going to love and leave you. Am I loving and leaving them, Nombuiser? We're just going to take a quick breather. Don't go anywhere.
Tem causado grande preocupação, afetando já mais de metade das províncias do país. Simultaneamente, a Agência dos Estados Unidos para o Desenvolvimento Internacional, USAID, um dos maiores doadores mundiais de assistência humanitária, decidiu não priorizar os países com maior incidência de malária. Para discutirmos as causas do alastramento da cólera em Angola e os impactos dessa decisão da USAID, convidamos o Dr. Jeremias Agostinho, médico e mestre em saúde pública, para partilhar a sua visão sobre o tema.
Nesse momento, representa o maior risco de saúde pública que nós temos. Nos últimos anos, a nossa preocupação esteve sempre centrado com os casos de malária, os casos de tuberculose e também de infecção por VIH-Sida. A forma como, em pouco menos de 2 meses, os casos de cólera vêm aumentando, acaba por representar nessa altura um dos maiores desafios que o país tem. É expectável que, nesta fase, o número de casos venha a aumentar.
De segunda a sexta-feira, das 20 às 21 horas locais, este é o Caleidoscópio do Canal África.
The Upside, taking the African perspective to fresh levels.
Well, it's 2 minutes before 4 p.m. Central African time. I asked a quiz earlier. My flag features a green vertical stripe on the left with horizontal yellow and red stripes on the right. My color symbolizes hope, wealth, and courage. I am home to the ancient kingdom of Dahomey and the birthplace of voodoo. Which country's flag am I? You are indeed Benin. If you said Benin, congratulations to you. As for me from the Wanderers Club, I'm about to hand over to Tami Ngubeni, who has African business lined up in the next hour. Tami, how are you doing? What's coming up on the show this afternoon?
Tebogo, sorry for taking you by surprise.
Oh, Mike. Tabiso, I'm sorry.
Tabiso.
The golden voice.
Thank you once again for rubber stamping that. We've got a jam-packed show. The G20 is converging in Sun City in the Northwest Province. So we'll be having a look at the developments which have been taking place there. And, there's a health funding issue in Zimbabwe, whereby there are efforts to bolster the health industry there in order to make sure that it roars back to its original health. And, the Tourism Youth Summit is taking place, and we will be crossing live to the CEO of Africa Tourism Partners. And we'll obviously dip into our weekly ABSA slot. And, that's the jam-packed show we have.
That's
the jam-packed show we have.
As always, exciting, important conversations are being held Africa in Business this afternoon with Thabiso Lekhuleni, Mr. Golden Voice of Channel Africa. From me, from the Wanderers Club in Johannesburg, South Africa, at the Radio Broadcasters Convention Africa 2025. I'm going to love and leave you. We'll do this again tomorrow, same time, same place. Africa, goodbye.
The African Perspective.
Looking at your top stories this hour, Zambian government and Lungu family reached agreement over the former president's burial, and at least 10 suffer gunshot wounds in Kenya at rallies marking the anniversary of deadly protests. Your latest news. Greetings to our listeners. Edgar Lungu's family representative, Makibi Zulu, says that the former president had been stripped of all his benefits, including health insurance, prior to his passing. Makibi addressed the media outside the Cathedral of Christ and King Church in Hillbrow, South Africa, where Lungu's funeral was expected to take place earlier. He further says this is an opportunity for the family to share their perspective following the court ruling.
This is an opportunity for us to tell a story, the great story of President Edgar, how that he lived as a president, served the nation as a president, and thereafter he was a person that was betrayed by the system, cast aside by the system, and now in his death they wish to come back and pretend as though they took care of him, pretend as though they were good to him, pretend as though he mattered to them, when in fact he never did.
At least 10 people have been admitted to Kenyatta National Hospital in Nairobi with gunshot wounds as thousands of Kenyans took to the streets to mark the one-year anniversary of anti-government protests. The 25th of June 2024 remains one of the most turbulent days in Kenya's recent political history. According to the Kenya National Commission on Human Rights, at least 60 people were killed in weeks of unrest. Many families say they are still waiting for justice and accountability. Kenya's police chief has urged people to remain peaceful and avoid restricted areas. At least 17 people have been killed in northern Nigeria when gunmen stormed 3 army bases. This is the latest assault in a region plagued by violence. Armed gangs operating in the northwest, known locally as bandits, typically engage in kidnapping for ransom and target security forces. The Nigerian army has confirmed the attacks but did not provide any details. A 2-day workshop of National Public Health Institutes is underway in Zimbabwe, Harare, aimed at strengthening the regional health infrastructure. This is in response to the COVID-19 pandemic that affected the entire world, but Africa was the hardest hit owing to poor health delivery. Participants include senior health officials, government leaders, and public health professionals from across Southern Africa. Regional Director of the Center for Disease Control, Dr. Liu Riek.
But specifically allow me to say these meeting themes is to strengthening information, knowledge sharing, and peer-to-peer mentorship in promoting healthy, equitable, resilient communities.
Lastly, the head of the UN nuclear watchdog, Rafael Grossi, says it's undeniable that Iran maintains industrial capacity and technical knowledge for its nuclear program. His comments come as Iran's parliament has voted to suspend cooperation with the UN agency. The BBC's Bethany Bell.
Mr. Grossi said his top priority was getting his inspectors back to Iran's nuclear sites to assess the impact of the military strikes and verify its stocks of enriched uranium. We need to return and re-engage with Iran, he said. Asked about the leaked US intelligence report, Mr. Grossi said he didn't like what he called an hourglass approach. He said what was needed was a solution that stood the test of time. He said there was a chance for diplomacy which should not be missed.
Recapping on your top stories, Edgar Lungu's family representative Makibi Zulu says that the former president had been stripped of all his benefits, including health insurance, prior to his passing. Makibi addressed the media outside the Cathedral of Christ the King Church in Hillbrow, South Africa, where Lungu's funeral was expected to take place earlier. Channel Africa News, I'm Onele Tsinzi.
SABC News. The African Perspective.
And coming up in your sports news this hour, so how will the Super Falcons WAFCON bonuses be structured? We'll speak to Samuel Amadou, who's the head of the Nigerian Women's Football League, to break it down for us. And also we'll take a look at Arsenal exploring a $13 million deal for Brentford Christian Nogard. Details of these and other stories coming up at 4:30.
Get the news, music, and lifestyle of Africa on Channel Africa, the African Perspective.
Hey there, this is Palesa Tau, part of the dynamic duo that gives you on the move right here on Channel Africa from 9 a.m. to 12 p.m. Central Africa time. Well, it's with your help for the past 2 years that we have been a multi-award winning show.
Finally here, we're keeping it on the move in 2025. And yes, I'm the other half of the duo, Benjamin Mushatama, and we're going to keep you going with the great conversations. Turn it up.
Okay. On the Move comes back in 2025 to give you more of the content that made us a Maldo and to deliver that bold, boundary-pushing content that you love. And of course, giving you a ride through the 3 hours of news, views, and entertainment.
Every weekday from 9 to midday Central African time, right here on Channel Africa. The African Perspective.
Cool.
Let's go.
Good afternoon and welcome to Africa in Business on Channel Africa, the voice of the African perspective, where we meet to look at the latest in business. We're broadcasting live from Johannesburg in South Africa on DSTV, Audio BK, channel 802, on OpenView on channel 628, and you can live stream us on www.channelafrica.co.za. Join in the conversations by finding us on Twitter at Channel Africa numerical 1, Facebook at Channel Africa, and you can also send your comments and voice notes to +2763 406 9126. That number again, it's a +2763 406 9126. I am Tabiso Lohoku, standing in for Tami Ngubeni. She's currently out, and in the news we had Onele Nzinzi and sport with Musibudi Makura. But for now, let's just focus on Africa in business.
Africa in Business on Channel Africa.
South Africa's Director General of the Department of International Relations and Cooperation and G20 Sherpa, Mr. Zane Dango, says meaningful progress has been made on climate financing since the last Sherpa's meeting, with the member states now being held accountable for their commitments. Dango was speaking at the opening of the third G20 Sherpa's meeting, currently underway in the northwest province of South Africa. The gathering has been held under the theme Solidarity, Equality and Sustainability. Channel Africa business reporter Innocent Simosa has more.
Inclusive economic growth and industrialization, artificial intelligence, data governance, food security, and the development potential for critical minerals, these are some of the key issues under discussion at the third G20 Sherpas meeting. South Africa's G20 Sherpa, Mr. Zane Dango, is leading the review of the G20 achievements to date and exploring future directions for the forum.
In terms of the work and the progress, I'm delighted to report that our collective efforts are yielding significant progress. Out of 132 planned meetings, we have now successfully hosted 70. Most of the working groups have completed their third sessions, and many have already engaged in the nitty-gritty of negotiating what they would like to see in their ministerial declarations for the year. And I'm sure you've gotten report backs.
And this is what we can expect in the coming days.
Our discussions over the next few days are going to be important. The discussions here is going to provide us with the opportunity to refine our objectives. We'll get report backs from some of the working groups and task teams, and we'll look at how they align with the priorities we've set out, and to ensure that we do reach out for inclusivity, and that we also reflect our own collective aspirations.
Amid rising geopolitical tensions and a surge in protectionism, UN G20 Sherpa Nelson Mafu says the G20 is making meaningful strides to ensure multilateralism remains effective and inclusive, particularly for global trade and cooperation.
Certainly, there is a positive momentum with regards to reinforcing multilateral cooperation at a time when it is very much needed as the UN celebrates 80 years of existence. And the G20 presidency under South Africa is contributing positively to this notion of reinforced solidarity around sustainable development and equality, because it is time to reform the global governance architecture, but also ensure that financing for development and climate action is something that benefits developing countries, and the UN is accompanying the South African presidency in that regard. And so we are encouraged by the momentum. There's a lot more work that needs to be done by member states of the G20 and others.